Just give me 1 second. Work my stuff out. You know how it is. You know how it is. And hello. We're back. We're monitoring. I am a little sleepy. Okay? But much has happened. Yeah, we're co-monitoring. We're all monitoring the situation. Hi, Lee Kevbo. Hi, Phone Jane. Hi, Terrace. Kai, she doesn't love you. Hi, Massey. Hi, Dramacar. Hi, Free Fan. Tom, Blinky Bee Bear, Eve's Pussies, Fat Cat. We are monitoring. Just drum. Okay. Hi, Seven. Hi, everyone. It's time for us to monitor the situation. And holy moly. Hey, Foggy. Hey, John. God, everyone's here. Gang's all here. How is everyone? How's everyone coping? Okay? Oh, that's lovely. I like it to get it a shout out. Guys, some serious monitoring to be doing. Also, some serious stuff is happening. The Ayatollah, dead. Not half dead now. Okay. Full dead. Confirmed, no longer alive. As dead as they come. What time is it for me? It's late. It's 12:43. Now, I see some of you being like, why on earth does an Australian stream at this time? And I understand. Okay, it's confusing to you. I understand. There are multiple reasons. One, I wanted to delay because I wanted us to be close to time in Iran. It's 5:13. So we got about an hour till the sun's down. I wanted to get some sundown time, okay? Because that's when I think shit gets real, you know? So I wanted to make sure that I was here for some sundown time. You know? Secondly, I live between here and America. And when I am in America, I would like to stream at this time, Eastern Standard Time. I would like to be streaming during the day. Okay? Also, every other time there's lots of competition. I don't think you guys would watch me. Thanks, Teresk. Exactly. Okay, so Schrodinger's Ayatollah no more. Dead Ayatollah. Long live the Ayatollah. A new Ayatollah will soon be upon us. A new supreme leader. Now, this may shock some of you. I personally didn't really care for Khamenei. Yeah, so, I'm not all upset that he's dead. That made me shocking. I mean, I don't like it when anyone dies, but this guy's a particularly bad guy. And there are a lot of people who are happy he's dead, and I'm happy for them that they're happy. You know? Now, things I've written some notes for us to talk about to begin, because there's stuff we need to go over. I'm not pro Shah. I'm not pro Ayatollah. I'm pro. Yeah, wouldn't you? I'm pro a secret third option. Hey, Mr. Tomcat. Bad guy? Who, the Ayatollah? Yeah. Not a good guy. Not someone that's generally known for being great. Am I sad for the people who are sad he's gone? Let me reflect on that one before I give an answer. Exactly. Pro free will. Pro Okay. There's some stuff that the Ayatollah being dead left me with some questions. First of all, how dare they lie to us and say he was going to speak? That man was never going to speak. That was a lie. We were lied to. Okay? That's one. Two. I don't know if you guys remember, but I was very confused as to why the attack started in the middle of the day. As you know, I say darkness is your friend. Okay? Why bombing in the daytime? That's not how we do these missions. Morning, Sheriff. But given that the Ayatollah died, my instinct tells me that they probably had intelligence and a small window of opportunity. So that explains daytime attack. Now, confusing to me, he did die in his own house. Very strange. Then I think, is he more powerful? Thank you, Tix. I appreciate you. It doesn't seem odd that he died in his own house. It does when you think like what other leaders do. They usually, when there's an idea of a threat, you take the most important people in your administration, you hide them. Oh, that does seem odd. God, see how tired I am? I'm like, Masseny, the thing is, this is the thing. Okay, there's a few different questions I have here. One, did he stay because he wanted to be martyred? And there was the decision that it was more important to be visible and to keep things running than to stay alive? Did he genuinely think was they genuinely duped by negotiations? That seems so silly to me, but it also seems so silly to put a bunch of people in the same house. So I'm still confused here. Okay. Yeah, 7, there's definitely a plan about who would come. I mean, as I emphasized so many times yesterday, this is a political structure that is made to survive the death of the Ayatollah. It is made to survive. Like, think about in June of last year when they wiped out like the head of the IRGC, like a bunch of different really important heads, like head of intelligence, head of the chief of staff of the armed forces. When they wiped out a bunch of people within like 15 minutes, the next day there were new people in those roles. You know, this isn't, this is built sort of to withstand this kind of attack. There may be reporting of that, Massam, but why not go when you know, like it was clear they were moving the carrier. It's not so much that there's, okay, here's the thing that I want to talk to you. Are you able to do a quick catch up? Okay, quick catch up would be, if you were asking from my perspective. The United States and Israel did a joint attack on Iran, came from Israel, but led by the United States, called Operation Epic Fury. This was during negotiations regarding their nuclear program, but it was made clear in a speech by Donald Trump that the reasoning and the goals of this operation are regime change, right? Which is an extremely extreme victory condition, but it's more than regime change. It's regime change. They're not allowed to have ballistic missiles and they're not allowed to have a nuclear program. So this is very high victory conditions, but they went in with a very hard attack. So they hit Tehran hard and basically they took out a bunch of the upper echelon leadership of the regime. Okay. Then you got recruitment, legit cookie. Then Iran, and this is, once again, this immediately demonstrates what I'm talking about in terms of the regime is very much made to deal with this kind of stress, this kind of action. Immediately, Iran began to retaliate by not only sending attacks back to Israel, where the attacks were launched from, but also by hitting Gulf cooperating countries, originally with the exception of Oman. So they were hitting Dubai, Saudi, UAE is Dubai, but like Abu Dhabi, Qatar. So they were hitting countries that normally like to stay out of these sorts of things, but are important allies to the United States. This shows, though, right? This killing of allegedly 40 members of the upper leadership in Iran did not impact their ability to launch strikes and to start retaliation, right? And they said previously, well, they didn't say previously, but it was obvious previously that this conflict would not follow the same sort of blueprint as previous Iran-Israel blow-ups. It wouldn't be proportionate. It wouldn't be tit for tat. It wouldn't be strategic patience, because at this stage, it is existential for them. This is an attack on the regime. It's an existential war. So they started hitting very hard all night. And that's kind of where we got to today. There was a bit of back and forth where they didn't want to confirm that Khamenei, the Ayatollah, the supreme leader, was dead. But yeah, I mean, you can say they have, okay, so with the upper leadership, there's multiple chains of command. There's obvious succession plans in place, and then there is multiple lines of command. So, but with the supreme leader, the Ayatollah, it's slightly different. So in my mind, the IRG, and I have to, once again, it's kind of complicated because I sort of have to explain a lot to you about the Iranian political system, which I'm willing to do, but like, it's complicated. The supreme leader is not just the leader politically of Iran in terms of like constitutionally the head of state. Supreme has a very specific meaning in Persian. It is a religious word. It is a sacred word. So the supreme leader is the guardian of the Shia, of all Muslims, but the Shia recognize him, the guardian of Muslims until the return of the 12th Imam. So the 12th Imam, so an Imam is a direct descendant of Muhammad, okay? So within Islam, there are Sunni Muslims and there are Shia Muslims. Within Shia, the most popular sect is something called the Twelver, Twelver Shia. And it's this belief that there are 12 imams. The 12th imam is kind of like a Jesus figure, right? The idea is that he will come back at the end times. He will bring salvation to Muslims. And a lot of people actually believe he will return with Jesus. They'll come together. But it's kind of funky because he technically is already here. He is alive. He's been alive since like the 900s, but he's hidden. They refer to him as it's like a cultization or something. He is he's here. He's like when the sun is hidden behind clouds. So he's referred to as the hidden imam, the 12th imam, okay? It's not the rebirth of Muhammad because it's a descendant of Muhammad. It is the last imam. The 12th imam, the hidden imam, this is the imam who is here to take the Muslims through the end times and save the world. And so the Ayatollah, the supreme leader, obviously there are multiple Ayatollahs, but the supreme leader is the guardian of the Shia people until that 12th Imam reveals himself. So the reason it's not this, like the head of the IRGC, that's fine. There's just someone who can take over. There's a clear succession plan, probably like 40 people long. But when it comes to the supreme leader, there's kind of like an almost conclave sort of event that has to happen. And even though I would tell you that the IRGC probably knows very well who the next Ayatollah is going to be, there will be the pomp and circumstance. Everyone you ask who is Iranian will say, it's impossible for us to know who it will be, okay? So, but this is, okay, so there is, in the constitution, there is something that is called like the transition council, or the leadership council, which is made up of the president. So Pezeshkian, it is made up of the head jurists, because you have to think, imams are like jurists, okay? They're like legal scholars. They're interpreting their deal. So like they're guarding the word of Muhammad, the prophet, like they're guarding the word of God. So the head jurist, the president, and then in this case, one other person is elected up. So in this case, it's Arafi. He is the leader of all the seminaries, so all the religious schools. He's had a lot of high leadership positions throughout Iran. And he is friendly with the IRGC. So he is the temporary leader until something called the Council of Experts, the Assembly of Experts. Okay, so there are 88 people who come together, and those 88 people have like a conclave, and they elect who the next supreme leader will be. Exactly, mister. Who would want to have kids in this economy? So it's kind of like, oh my God, it scares me every time. Thank you, Wallach. I really appreciate it. So imagine if it were the president and can I tell you something cute? My mum this morning at breakfast, I was like, yeah, it went really well. I was really happy. I got a lot of subs, blah, blah, blah. I was really, there was no alert for you guys. Oh, because I turned off desktop audio. It scared the shit out of me. You saw that I got alerted. Imagine if it were the Pope and the president in one. That's what it's like. I thought it was kind of nice when I was learning about this, that Jesus gets to come along. I thought that was sweet. But even though this is something that Shia believe in, which is why you're seeing people upset in places like Pakistan, anywhere that has like a significant Shia population is going to be upset about the death of the Ayatollah, right? But even though only the Shia believe in him, he believes that he's also protecting the Sunni, you know? Maybe the new Ayatollah will be more secular. No, he won't. So the people who are kind of up, hang on, I wrote this down so I could, yeah, it's sort of like an assembly of judges. It's 88 of like the experts on like, the jurists, the text. It's like a conclave. So the people who are kind of being thrown around, Mojtaba Khamenei, so Khamenei's son, unlikely because he is Khamenei's son, and they don't like that hereditary kind of thing. They don't like the idea of that. Also, he hasn't really held, like, he's been an aide to his dad, but he hasn't really held any like big roles. But it's unlikely. Okay. Then there's Arafi, who's the interim leader now. A lot of people have their money on him because he is good friends with the IRGC. You need their support. Also, he runs the seminaries. He's religious. You know, he's held lots of high positions within the administration already. So this is what a lot of people are pointing to as like the guy. Mirbagiri is a hard-line, scary, scary cleric. So if he gets up, that's not great. I wouldn't bet, Nikon, but if I did bet, it would be on Arafi. Mohseni Ajeni is the like top jurist. He's like the chief justice of Iran. His name is being considered as well. He's also very hardline. And then there is the son of Khomeini, right? The son of the Shah it's not an election, it's a conclave. He's not allowed to run because he is from outside of the regime. So the regime, after the Islamic Revolution with Khomeini, this kind of theocratic system was set up where elections happen internally and they're picked internally by this council, this assembly of experts. Because as I said, this isn't just the president, this is the leader of the Shia. This is the guardian of the Shia, the person who is responsible for taking care of Muslims until the 12th Imam returns. Okay, it's a big deal. So the Shah could never have the role. You could never have a non-religious person take the role of supreme leader. Supreme is, in Persian, it means sacred. So there is no secular takeover if the regime stands. Okay? Hang on one second. I'm so confused because you gifted me 5, but it only counted 1. And I don't know what happened there. But I don't want you to think that I don't see what you did. Okay. But that's not the only scenario. There is still the scenario that, for instance, the IRGC could take over and do a military coup, in which case the regime would fall and there wouldn't be a religious leader. That's not off the table, although I feel at this stage it is unlikely. Then there is the idea that the people would rise up, in which case, yeah, maybe the Shah's son could take over. But I really, really, really doubt it. I really doubt it. I really, really, really doubt it. But I've been wrong before. Who am I to doubt the son of the Shah? Who am I to doubt the son of the Shah? This is what's just so unbelievably short-sighted, probably intentionally so, because there's just no way this actually encourages regime change. Yeah, exactly, Slad, because the thing is as well is that anyone would tell you, anyone with knowledge of the Iranian regime will be like, if you get rid of the Ayatollah, you realize it's going to be replaced by someone more extreme. Like, you're not going to get someone less extreme. And not only that, but if you do it externally, you're going to replace the Ayatollah with someone more extreme, and you're going to have everyone upset that there's been foreign intervention to kill the Ayatollah. Like, not only are you going to have someone more extreme, you're going to make them angry. No, he's in America. Or where is the son of the Shah? Let's have a look. He's sure as shit not in Iran. He spent most of his life in Maryland, Potomac. He's lived in the United States for the past 4 decades. So that's a great question, Masan, and it's not dumb at all. What is the IRGC? So the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. So basically Potomac. Okay, sorry, Bradley. I've got it now. Okay. So in Iran, there are three militaries. Okay. There is the Artesh, which is the Iranian military. So this is left over from the Shah days. That is your kind of formal, your standard, like the US military, the Artesh. That's got about 100,000. Hang on. Artesh has about, 750,000 members. That's the Iranian army. Then there's something called the Pazesh, which has like millions of people, but there is the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. And part of the reason your question is really a good question is because you keep seeing Donald Trump and Netanyahu tell the IRGC to lay down their weapons and they'll get amnesty. It's just a complete misunderstanding of what the IRGC is, because the IRGC is the military force that helped do the revolution, the Islamic Revolution. So they are the people who overthrew the Shah and installed the Ayatollah. They are the people who wanted this revolution, okay? They are ideologically indoctrinated to this cause, religiously speaking. So this is like it's not like a commitment to Iran. It's a commitment to the regime. They don't serve Iran. They don't serve the Iranian people. They serve the Iranian regime. And the IRGC works for the Islamic leadership in terms of so the Ayatollah doesn't just claim leadership over Iran. He claims to be the leader of all Shia Muslims, right? So when you hear about like Hezbollah and the Houthi in Yemen and Kitab Hezbollah in Iraq and Hamas, even Hamas is not Shia, but like it is the IRGC will help out not just in Iran. They're kind of like the Wagner. It's like it's not the official military. It's a military that sits above Iran that serves the regime, and the regime claims more space than just Iran. So it's so silly. They're extremely powerful too, but it's very silly when people are like, lay down your weapons and turn against the regime. Because that just would, it's their raison d'etre. It would never happen. Artesh might, right? The Iranian military might, but not the IRGC. Does that make sense? My son, I don't think they would ever accept the Shah's son. It makes absolutely no sense. It's crazy. Anyone who's telling you that just doesn't know anything about Iran. Now, of course, it's ridiculous to make any sort of holistic statement about a population of over 93 million people, right? So maybe there, within that 93 million people, maybe there are some people who really want the Shah's son in charge, okay? But it's not a popular enough sentiment to consider as meaningful. Okay. What's the third? The Pasesh? I don't actually know as much. I thinks I'm talking about Passover, and I'm not. Pesach Army, Iran. Did I make this up? Artesh, IRGC, Pesach. Yeah, I'm right. Pesach Army. What is the Guys, let me work this out. Okay, it says it's there. I can't find any information on it. So, I don't know. You're going to have to ask an Iranian. Sorry. But I think that it might be like the volunteer force. I think it's people. What the? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I made it up. Maybe I made it up. Sorry. Maybe I'm spelling it wrong. Hang on. Armed forces in Iran. IRGC, Faraja and Pasesh sound nothing alike. That would be the police, but that's not what I'm talking about. I made it up. Pretend I didn't say anything, because I don't know what I'm talking about there. Misinformation super spreader, that's me. I swear to God, Artesh, Sepa, Sepa is the IRGC. Police command? It must be the only other, Quds. Because, okay, so Quds force within the IRGC, they fight outside. They're the special forces. Oh, I am spelling it wrong. It's the Pasesh is the Basesh. This is okay. Of course. There is no P in the Arabic script, which Persian also uses, obviously. So P is always B. And I should know that. It's the Basij, which is a paramilitary organization for the mobilization of the oppressed. It's the volunteer militia that fight alongside the IRGC. I take that back. I didn't spread any misinformation. I just can't spell. Okay? So Khamenei used to call it the army of 20 million. But yeah. It doesn't. There is no P. It's the same script. The B. I spread mispronunciation. I do. Well, okay. The response from the Gulf states. I'm glad you asked. There is no P. Me at the urologist. It's why you say like Pepsi or birth instead of Perth. I think the biggest, well, there's a few things I'm worried about with the Gulf. The Gulf is going to keep getting hit because that's where the pressure comes from, right? That's the ultimate way for Iran to get out of this is to put pressure on the Gulf, which is, and this is how you also know that this is diacritic. You mean they've made up okay, but that doesn't count as having a P in the Arabic. PE. Oh, they do too. Okay. Guys, I'm once again spreading misinformation. While it's not found in standard Arabic, it is used in Persian. Guys, thank God, familiarly, because I am here to fucking lie to you guys. I don't speak Persian, okay? They're putting an extra dot under there. But that exists in Arabic. That's... Oh, no, it's not. Okay. Okay, sorry. P is used in Persian and Iranian is Persian. Guys, don't unsub to me. Please stay subbed. Please stay subbed. I don't speak Farsi. I'm sorry. I can't speak them all. Okay? Okay, the Gulf states. This is how you know it's an existential war, because a short-term goal of Iran was to have a better relationship with the Gulf states. So they have sacrificed that in order to survive. Look at you. Yay! Why is my ticker not working? Time of gifts. Thank you for the gifts. That I have to fix or I'm going to cry. Said, baby, don't lie, money's everything. Oh, there we go. Fixed it. Okay. Thank you for subbing. Okay. Now you can unsub. If I lie again, now you can unsub because I'm a liar. Okay? So yeah, Iran's short-term goal was to become friends with the Gulf countries because they're neighbors. They want to open up, shit. It makes sense to be friends with your neighbors. Also, Iran's got a lot of sanctions. They want to be friends with their golfy neighbors, right? But in an existential situation, fuck those goals. You need to survive. And the best way for them to have an impact here is to fuck with the Gulf states and make them upset and make them stop the US. Now, your question was, what do I think they'll do? I think they will not want to engage. And I think they will want to engage by defensive engagement, but I don't think they will want to engage. At best, I think they might let America use their bases, but ultimately what they're trying to avoid is any further justification for attacks on their soil. Okay, they don't want attacks on their soil. Now, what I'm really concerned about when I look at escalation, because I told you guys, like, this would have been in a vertical war instead of a horizontal war like we had. It would have gone attack Israel, attack US Navy, attack US bases in third countries. That's how it traditionally would have gone in terms of escalating. So to hit all of the Gulf countries at once within an hour of being hit, insanity, very crazy. And so I'm like, okay, we're escalating very fast. Something that concerns me. And this is, remember, this, and the only reason I suggest this is a possibility is because this is an existential war. And I don't think that Iran would stop at anything. The thing that makes me nervous is that Iran will attack oil refineries and oil wells in these states. So if that happens, that is an escalation that the entire world will not. If they start attacking oil infrastructure in the Gulf countries, like, this is where most people get most of their oil from, right? People would keep talking about China and being like, oh, this is a way to stop trying to get so much oil from Iran. Oil is fungible. You can just swap out, right? Now I'll get my oil from Russia and I'll get it from Brazil. I'll get it from Kazakhstan. And it's easy for me to just move around, get oil from somewhere else. Very annoying. Like, countries like Australia, we're a bit fucked. A lot of like our LNG comes from Qatar. So long as the strait is closed, there's going to be big problems there. But if you start actually affecting...
Look at you.
Oh my fucking God. Victorious, thank you. Tria, thank you. Guys, I appreciate you. This is huge, guys. I'm a real streamer. Yeah, if they attack oil, the actual oil infrastructure and refineries, that's a huge, huge escalation. And then I believe the Gulf countries would involve themselves militarily. But I think they don't want to be in a war. It's bad for their public interest. Yeah, I mean, Palestine, I don't know what they're doing. Hell yeah, I'm gonna have 6K follow. I don't know what a normal streamer has, okay? I don't know what good numbers are, but I'm liking what we got going here, okay? Irish accent now. Oh wait, that's what Pixel does. Yeah. Okay, these are the other questions I had. Yeah, well, it's not just the shutdown of the Dubai air, like, they have stopped global traffic, because shutting down Doha, Dubai, Abu Dhabi air traffic and then shutting down the strait, that's a massive impact on how things move around the world. It feels like it's starting a proxy war between China, but it's not actually affecting China, right? Pixel is one of my best friends. This doesn't impact China yet, because the thing is, like, China has, first of all, it has a shit ton of oil stocked up, right? It's prepared for this kind of contingency. And as I said, it's if oil is fungible. And even though it's, it's the kind of like fun thing to be like, oh, they're invading because of oil. Like, when it comes to, oh, they're trying to cut off they're trying to cut off China's access to oil. That isn't true, because China can get it through Brazil, China can get it through Russia, China can get it through Kazakhstan. There's China can get it by just using what they have stocked up. That would be their absolute last resort. But this is not, even if a lot of the exports from Iran go to China, that doesn't mean that Iranian exports make up a lot of China's oil. Like, it's like when people are like, oh, they went up to Venezuela to get to China. It's like, well, even though most of Venezuelan oil goes to China, Venezuelan oil only makes up 1% of Chinese oil, right? So I don't think it's that. Do you know what the Russian Iranian oil deal or whatever is about, and how does the Iranian situation affect Russia? A lot of those kind of things are like countries who are sanctioned by other countries working together using like BRICS sort of alliances and money moving. They've got their own kind of BRICS dollar, like almost a BRICS cryptocurrency that runs through Malaysia. So they have a lot of different ways to kind of pay for oil and prop up each other's industries. So I don't know how that would affect, but yeah, just the Dragon Bear alliance is much more important, which is the alliance between China and Russia. But Iran is definitely a big player in BRICS. But this isn't likely. There has been no moves yet from Russia or China really that are worth noting. Yeah, there's plenty of oil. Like, oil can be like, oh, we want the oil, we want to control the oil. Yeah, okay. But if you're trying to say that something is justified to stop access to oil from another country, it's just not convincing, because it's too fungible of a resource. Always looking for bad news that affects Putin. Well, his friend died. And I've heard he's a lonely man. So what is this about the F1? You talked about the F1 races in the region likely being cancelled, but a lot of their equipment is expected to be shipped to and fro through the region. The thing is, this is the other question I had pretty much all day, because we kept joking about it last night, but it's like, what the fuck? Why was Bahrain hit so hard? And I thought about it as I was going to sleep, and the thoughts I came up with is a few things. One, Bahrain is quite friendly in terms of Gulf states with Iran because it has a big Shia population. So it could be that they had the best intelligence about the bases in Bahrain because of the high Shia population. It could be an intelligence thing. It could be there were a lot of flights back and forth between Israel and Bahrain. It could be Israel storing something there. It'd be really interesting to know what is stored there. I heard rumors that it's batteries for the Iron Dome, but I don't know why you would store them all the way in Bahrain. To me, it makes more sense that they would be moving some sort of weapon there to be closer to Iran. But yeah. We're all spreading misinformation here, okay? We're doing our best, but we're all spreading misinformation. Probably marmalade. I'm actually not sure. Oh my gosh, Faith! I need to set it up so that it sings when you do it on YouTube. But thank you very much. Thank you. Guys, I really appreciate this support. So yeah, so these are my thoughts so far on the Ayatollah situation. Yeah, so even though they're going to have that, good morning, even though they will have that assembly of experts do their conclave type thing, I think the IRGC already know who's going to be in charge. I think it's going to be RFE. Yeah, the strait is going to be more important, but if they attack Gulf oil fields, that's when I think shit's going to get real with the Gulf. That would make the Gulf participate militarily. And more so than Iran, Gulf oil is important to China. So stopping the flow of that is the bigger thing in terms of China. But as I said, still very easy to move to Brazil, Kazakhstan, Russia. Easy. I don't know what the EU is. EU. So apparently there's been pinch of salt, okay? Pinch of salt. This is a different cult. There's apparently good intelligence coming out of Germany that attacks in Europe are planned. So I would not say that they are attacks from Iran. Like, I don't think we're talking ICBM. I think that would be dormant kind of terroristic groups launching small attacks within Europe. Once again, I don't think Europe want to be involved. I think a lot of these like more external countries, your China, your Russia, your EU, want things to just stop as quickly as possible. Yeah. I have some things that I'd like to read today after we do a quick assessment of the current situation. But does anyone have any questions about the regime, how it's set up? Anything like more factual that they want answered before I read? That's the other thing, my son, like, I think a lot of people are thinking, confused about why the UAE is getting hit so hard. UAE do a lot of support when it comes to Israeli airspace. How much more retaliation is expected? At least a month, I would say. I think a huge amount. I think so. Israel said they got air superiority today, but I also think that Iran is making it clear that they have no intention of stopping. Oman got hit today, so Oman no longer safe. Wait. I didn't mention the Dre dossier. Did I? I like her stuff. But I haven't seen what she said about the war yet. Did Iran kill any significant person? I don't think that they're going for significant people. Because the long and short of it is just that Israeli intelligence is too good, right? They want to create pain in Israel, and pain, even though they're going to hit Israel very hard, they'll be creating pain in the Gulf states. Going after something like Netanyahu, it's pointless. The intelligence is too good. It's just not it's a waste of time. But I don't think they're going for anyone significant. I feel like I read somewhere they killed someone. But it's not something that's what's going to get a lot of headlines, like assassination type things. Look, I really like Dre too, but I think, I like the Dre dossier. I think she's wrong about the ballroom. And I think when it comes to the Oracle acquisition, and I really like her and I really like her research. Okay, so I'm not saying this to shit on anything that she said, but I do think in this case, it's a little bit like a hammer nail situation. I do not think that a war was started with Iran to make cover for Oracle and AI. I don't think that. Yeah, so vertical warfare kind of gives you a clear path. Sorry, so Evan Starcraft said, would you mind explaining the strategy of vertical warfare? You kind of have a direct enemy, right? Or like you have your clear, it's kind of much more a So there's network warfare and then there's like hammer nail warfare, right? So you have your enemy, you have your combatant. So in this case, it's Israel and the United States. And in traditional vertical warfare, there's a clear line of escalation. So things are going up, right? In terms of intensity. So a proportionate hit, a tit for tat hit on Israel would be your first kind of step in a vertical style of warfare, right? And then you would escalate further to something that has a bigger impact, that is more severe, that's going to get a bigger, you would work your way vertically down this list or up this list, right? Horizontal warfare is more kind of like a widespread, like, let's do everything at once. We're not escalating slowly. We're doing broad. We're doing everything kind of at once. And that really only happens when people are very serious. When it's, when it's not, you're not kind of, a vertical war is kind of a war where you're like, I eventually believe we will end up back at the negotiating table. So I'm going to make sure that I only step up as you step up and that we escalate together, and that at each step we kind of stop and reassess and we see what the other side is going to do. This is not a strategy of war that is dependent on how the other side acts. Yeah, Slad. It's like, the thing is, people don't care about children's death. They don't, if they're Iranian children, they just don't care. If they're Palestinian children, they just don't care. Even Ukrainian children, they just don't care. They don't care, right? It's horrible. They don't care. Hamanel is Hamani. Monitoring day 2, of course. We have to monitor. Oh yeah, and they got Ahmadinejad, which doesn't really. It's another one of those symbolic things. It doesn't really matter. I mean, Killer Mike did tell us. I don't think that Iran took the negotiations seriously, and I don't think the US took it seriously. I think it was show negotiations where the only thing that makes me think maybe they took it seriously is the fact that the Ayatollah was in his house. Which is like, what happened there? Truly what happened there? But I think that ever since June of last year, that was, how can you take negotiations seriously? How many times, can you sit at a table and have your negotiating partner bomb you in the middle of, but in negotiations, and still be like, no, this time it'll be legit. This time it'll be different. Work from home ruined him. Yeah, you think when they moved Gerald Ford into the region, he'd let people work remotely, but because it wasn't just him. He brought all his top guys to his house for a meeting, which is why we had the attack during the day, because it was a very short window of opportunity in terms of intelligence. And he wasn't even in a bunker. He was just in his house. It's just like, but this is the thing, right? Do you think that Hamani wanted to die of old age? No, he didn't want to die of old age. He was well prepared to go out. Thank you so much for the raid! Guys, I don't have any cool effects like your last amazing streamer. Thank you so much. We're monitoring the situation. Welcome to the Silly Pics. Thank you so much. I hope you had a good stream. I love watching your stream. I wish I had cool effects like you, but alas, I'm just a boring face streamer. We are here talking about Iran. Yeah. If you have any questions, I happen to know a little bit about Iranian politics, and I did monitor the situation last night. And I do monitor the situation regularly. So I'm answering questions currently about the Iranian system, what I think is going to happen, because I don't want to impress you guys, but I kind of predicted how everything would go down 3 days before it went down. But yes. You're not a follower, so you cannot chat? You can, you just chatted. I wish I could Twin Peaks react. I mean, did I monitor Israeli bunker parties following the death of the Ayatollah or following the strikes on Iran? You have to understand, and I have explained this many times, it's very hard. I talked about permanent security mindset in the last stream. Also, guys, if you were in my chat, I don't know how to do the shout out thing. Hey, it worked. Go and follow. But okay. The Israeli population is very young, and they've had Netanyahu in charge for most of their lives. Netanyahu's entire fucking life goal has been talking about how Iran is evil to its very core. All that it cares about is killing Israel and killing Israelis, and how if we ever want to defeat terrorism, we must defeat Iran. And Israelis have been told since he's been in power, so since even before he's been in power, he was an influential figure in Israeli politics from the 80s. They've been told since the 80s that they will never be safe so long as the Ayatollah and the Islamic regime in Iran continues to exist, and that their safety will always be impacted by this. Now, Israel tends to work from a framework of something called permanent security, which means they're kind of like a paranoid state that isn't just interested in being safe right now, but they're interested in securing their safety forever, for all of time. And that is, of course, a completely unreasonable and unachievable goal. And it means that people end up acting in ways that are unethical, and outsized and unacceptable. We saw this with the Nazis. We saw this in Guatemala. We saw this with the Armenians. It's this idea that it's not enough to kill the terrorist. I have to kill the children, because the children might grow up to be terrorists. And in the future, I don't want to have to deal with that. So if I'm truly going to be safe, I have to kill everyone that may one day maybe pose a threat to me. And so this is the framework that they work in. Now, to be fair, right, Israel has been attacked a lot. Part of the reason for that is when you act in a way that you have this permanent security mindset and you're a paranoid actor like this, you create the very problem that you're trying to solve. Exactly, Cernu. Exactly. You end up creating the circumstances that you are trying to avoid, because the people you are targeting in order to create this permanent security are like, what the fuck are you doing? Well, yes, it is supremacist, Evan, because when you are doing this permanent security thing, a security logic and a racial logic tend to fuse, because your identification of a threat tends to be along racial lines. So you end up being like, anyone from this group is a threat to me. And so suddenly your racism is like, it's not viewed as racism to you. You're like, no, they're a threat to my security. Yeah, and even before, he was working at think tanks before that, Time of Gifts. He wrote a book which is basically like, Israel is the most Iran is the most evil country of all time. So yeah, it's a really bad situation. How did he get to be like this? Well, that's kind of interesting. So his dad, Netanyahu's dad, was very much. He was a advisor to. Fuck, I did a whole video on this. So if you go to my YouTube, right? I have done a biographical series on Netanyahu starting from his childhood. So his grandpa was one of the first Zionists who said, we need to pivot from Britain to America. So he was sent to New York early on to convince America to become an ally with Israel. But something that really radicalized Netanyahu, he had an older brother called Yoni who fought in the Metkal, Sayeret Metkal. He fought in the Israeli Special Forces, right? He was the golden boy. He was the hero. He was everything that anyone could ever want to be. And then he died. So you know how Mamdani is Indian, but he comes from Africa? So under Idi Amin kicked out, the Entebbe. So Entebbe is the event. So basically a bunch of Israelis were on a plane and Idi Amin kept them hostage, and then they sent in Sayeret Matkal, the special forces, to rescue them. Yoni Netanyahu got killed in that thing, and he was very much mythologized in Israel. He was very much seen as a hero. Yoni, so it's Jonathan. It's like the Israeli Jonathan. He was the second child promised to the priesthood. He worked in business. He was a consultant. And then he really made his whole kind of raison d'etre propaganda. I'm not saying that in kind of like a derogatory way. I'm saying that in a very matter-of-fact way. Netanyahu saw very early on that what Israel needed more than anything was PR in America, and the strong relationship between America and Israel, you can almost point to Netanyahu alone for creating that. So he started working at the UN under Yitzhak Shamir, and yeah, from then on, like that was he used to go to public speaking courses. He was very he wrote books but in the books, he's always talking about Iran and how Iran is evil. So this has been his whole life. His whole life has been this. Because he truly believes Islam is evil. It's also very interesting if you look at Likud as a party. They have beliefs. They have beliefs that you should look into, which then make this all make sense. Okay, you need a link to my Discord? We can make that happen. Sheriff, are you here? Can you put a link to my Discord? So how does Israel think they win? Well, I have to tell you, if the regime falls, right? If the Islamic regime falls, and if there is an IRGC takeover, or if there is a bottom-up takeover by the people, this will be Netanyahu's crowning glory. There is greater Israel, yes, that's something that Likud talk about, but that's not, for Netanyahu, this would be enough. To destroy the Islamic regime in Iran would be enough. Because think about it, in the past year, the past 2 years, Yahya Sinwar, Nasrallah, Assad, the Ayatollah, that's it, he's done. He did it. How functional and unified is the newly formed interim leadership council? Okay, so Talka, the way this works, I was describing this before, but I'll go through it again. So the interim council is part of the constitution. So that's already there to work. So it's got Pezeshkian, the president, it's got the top jurist, and then they bring in a third person to be the interim leader. So that's Arafi in this case. And then there is an assembly of experts. So that's 88 people who are mostly jurists who pick the supreme leader. Within Persian, supreme is a word that's more like sacred, because you have to remember that the supreme leader is not just the political head of state of Iran, but is the spiritual head of Shia Muslims, the protector of all Muslims, who is put in place to guard them and guard their souls until the 12th Imam. So you'll hear a lot about Shia 12ers. there's this idea that there are 12 imams. The 12th imam is kind of like, he'll come at the end of times to bring salvation to all Muslims, right? And he's currently here, he's alive, but he's hidden, okay? And it is the job of the supreme leader to spiritually care for Muslims until he reveals himself at the end of times. So this event that's going to happen with the Assembly of Experts is kind of like a Shia version of a conclave, where the leader, not just of the country, but the leader of the Shia religion will be picked. So they will aim to do that very quickly. There is absolutely beyond even the transition council that's got Pezeshkian, etc. on it, the breadth and precision of the attacks following the death of the Ayatollah, which happened very early on, the very first attack, shows that there is no problem. There's a lot of contingency plans when it comes to how the military functions, how the political system functions. This is a system that was created to survive this kind of shock. So there's absolutely no problem in terms of the Leadership Council and the Council of Experts. Now, Arafi, who's been brought in to take over the position of the Supreme Leader in an interim way, I think is likely to be the next Supreme Leader. Because even though there's technically has to be this Assembly of Experts who choose, no. This person is known because the IRGC wouldn't allow there not to be kind of a succession plan. So I'm almost certain that it's Arafi. You won't find any Iranian expert they'll say, no, we don't know, but it's almost certainly going to be him. Part of the reason they say they don't know is because Khamenei, after Khomeini died, Khamenei was a surprise candidate. So they didn't expect him. So now they're like, well, yeah, Arafi's the guy we expect. But remember last time, the only other time this has happened, they didn't go with the guy we expected. So Arafi, it'll happen as quickly as they can. They don't want to spend a long time without this, but they will follow the kind of formal procedure of it because the role is so important. The Ayatollah is like if the Pope and the President were one person. Yeah, Zaluk, exactly. Is he more of a hardliner? Every single person is more of a hardliner. Every single person who's an option is more of a hardliner, unfortunately. There are some that are much worse than Arafi. Mirbagari, I think is his name, is a very hardline jurist. But every single one of these people are more hardline. Now, the president does the day-to-day thing. So Pezeshkian, or Pezeshkian, depends how you want to say it, the president is actually a much more moderate president. So it was when he was brought into power, a lot of people saw it as a sign that Iran was going to try and make deals with the United States, that they were going to moderate. He's very good on the women issue as well. So it looked to be like a step away from the hijab and the morality police thing because he doesn't support that. But obviously, whatever he was pushing for has been completely undermined now. So replacements in every other position would be completely swift. When I tell you that the command and control, like think about in the June War, you knocked out all of the top leaders and everyone was replaced by the next day. There are about 3 or 4 command and control lines. How much of the moderate president was just international PR maneuvering? I don't think so, my son, because a lot of his internal speeches is what I was basing that on. A lot of his speeches about women's rights, about the morality police, that's what I was basing that on, not based on what he did externally, because it was everyone was very surprised by that pick as well, because obviously you cannot be the president without the supreme leader approving you. So I did not expect a moderate to be picked for that position. Yeah, there's huge. So you'll see, like, for instance, Cleo, you'll see that there have been deaths at protests in Pakistan at the US embassy in Karachi. That's because the Shia people are protesting the death of the Ayatollah. You will see, as I said, there are people, many people will celebrate because this is obviously a terrible, oppressive man with an oppressive regime who's ruined a lot of people's lives, right? Who is completely barbaric. But you cannot just assume that 93 million people all feel the same. So in the same sense, you'll see a lot of people crying in the streets, and different people will showcase different portions of the population to you to be like, oh my God, look, see, the people are happy, we did the right thing. And there'll be other people be like, look, you killed their leader and they're crying. Like, both exist, okay? Imagine if you took out the Pope with a tomahawk, like, people would be upset, even though there are lots of people who've been harmed at the hands of the Catholic Church. The government is set up that way, polygraph detector, because you have to understand that this system was set up on the back of a revolution. Bye. Thank you so much for the. Oh my God, 7 a.m. You gotta sleep. Thank you so much for the raid. I really, really, really appreciate it. What does change on the ground for them? Do you mean what does this change on the ground for them? I mean, what changes on the ground is they're being bombed. It's nothing to do with their leadership. The thing that is changing on the ground for Iranians is that bombs are falling from the sky. Exactly, Slad. It would be exactly the same. Imagine another country was like, well, did you see what Trump was doing with ICE? It was barbaric. We had to take him out. That's what the people wanted. Glack, that's not even funny. How are you going? I'm here to depress everyone. I'm here to depress you with news of World War III. Wait, I saw the funniest tweet though. I saved it for you guys. Well, I found it funny. Look at this. World War II, World War III, Two War, World War Tokyo Drift, World and War, World 7, War 8. That's for fans fans of this naming convention, which makes total sense to some of us. And eventually we're just going to get war. Tokyo Drift is going to be the invasion of Taiwan, so I don't think it's that sick, Squall. People keep doing the World War III thing, but you don't see much chance of this escalating. There's definitely a huge chance of this escalating. If Iran gets pushed to the point that they start attacking the oil refineries, oil wells, and oil infrastructure in the Gulf, this will 100% become a world war. If they start doing terrorist acts in Europe, if any other country, like, it's something you may have noticed is like Afghanistan and Pakistan are popping off. Russia is taking the opportunity to hit Ukraine extra hard. Like, Gaza's been completely shut again. Everyone's kind of taking the opportunity to move under the cover of extreme violence. It does not take very much for things to expand into a world war. What's going on today then? Well, war. Let's monitor the situation quickly. We've got tankers being hit, which people are not going to like. B-2 bombers strike underground ballistic missile site. 3 US service members killed. Oh. The people are not going to like that. I told you they were dead. Yep. According to CENTCOM, 5 have been seriously wounded. 3 have been killed. Good morning, Permo. The petrol, well, Australia, if you're in Australia, your LNG, your liquefied natural gas, is a little bit fucked because we get most of it from Qatar, and so long as the strait is closed, it's not getting to us. Am I correct that Saudi is the only country in the region that can get... Yeah. That strait is really important. Thank you so much, Bad Horse. You didn't even say anything. You just gave me money for just existing. Thank you so much. We love that. My thing isn't working again though. Look at that. It says 0. There we go. I fixed it. Thank you. How is this going to affect the oil industry short term? So the thing is, oil prices will definitely go up. It's going to have a short-term hit on the oil market. Prices are going to skyrocket. But as I was explaining before, oil is extremely fungible. It's very easy to move where you're getting oil from. There is a lot of oil on the market. Obviously, OPEC meets next week, I think. The big issue is one, how long does this go on for? And two, do any actual oil facilities get hit, right? But yeah, oil prices will go up, as happens anytime the strait is affected. But it's hard to know. Okay, so yeah, okay, this isn't great. Hang on. Come back to this with me. Emirati oil platform ablaze in the Gulf. This is not good. If this continues to happen, the Gulf states will get involved because this long-term fucks up the oil market, long-term fucks up as I told you, when it comes to Gulf states, they really don't have any sort of Arab loyalty. Obviously, well, Iran's not Arab, but like they don't have any sort of like loyalty. It's all about their bag. You start messing with their bag, which is why they were upset when their tourist kind of industries were being hit, the airports. They're like, hey, we're the Arabs that don't do war. Don't bring war here. That's not our shit. We don't do that. Don't bring war here. You're going to make people think we're Arab. We try to make them forget that. So if you start hitting this, they're going to get mega mad and they're going to get involved. Isn't it a good thing that this incurs costs on the US, as that is more likely to stop the war? Well, that's why they're doing it, right? But this is a huge escalation that has global implications. I don't mean OPEC in terms of OPEC can do anything to stop it. I'm saying OPEC will have a big impact on the price of oil. And that's what they'll talk about. Like, that's decisions about what they're going to do there, how much oil they're going to release onto the market, if Saudi's going to help anyone. You know, that's what's going to come out of that. 3 tankers damaged. The US can stop at any time because even though their victory conditions are ridiculous, we know this, right? Even though we know they're ridiculous, Donald Trump has said, he's like, I could stop in 1 day, I could stop in 3 days. I can do the whole thing and do regime change, or I can stop and not do regime change. And they can know that we'll be back in a couple of years. So he's created a precedent where it's like, I can stop whenever I want. Someone's dead in Kuwait. Uh-oh. Yeah, Iran targets UAE oil rig. This is bad. Excuse me. Would Iran or the Houthis? Yeah, I think they might. The Houthis, unlike Hezbollah, have signaled a complete willingness to get involved, but as of yet, they're holding back. Wait. This would be harder, I think, but Israel did something to Egypt earlier. So, I don't know. I don't know. I went to the wrong strait. Seems horribly irresponsible of the US to stop now. Well, the thing is, it seems irresponsible because it makes you think, well, why did you do it in the first place? But why did they do it in the first place? There is no victory condition that they can achieve. And I could be wrong. I could be wrong, right? I could be wrong. But I used to use my point redemptions as ways for people to bully me. China could, so cyan otters, because so many of the air carriers were moved over here and so many resources were moved over here, China could, but there's still a lot of, China does not have ideal conditions to move at the moment on Taiwan. There are too many allies. They truly are surrounded, right? South Korea, Japan, the Philippines, it's Australia. Even though a lot has moved, when you have the US signaling that they're willing to do a limited nuclear war over Taiwan and that's what they expect to occur, I don't think they will do that. When I say it could trigger into World War III, it's not like I don't mean like it's Iran and people who side with Iran. It's not like Axis versus allies. It's like a bunch of smaller wars breaking out in regions because people are like, okay, fuck it, we're going to war. Like, just as like we said there with like China, like if enough of that shit broke out, it could become a situation where just globally there is a situation of war. Everywhere you look, someone is involved in war. And it's not necessarily that you have, like, you definitely have a dragon bear alliance between China and Russia. And they could come to assist Iran if the calculations changed and that became a good idea for them. It's not a good idea for them currently. It makes no sense currently. But it's less to do with, like, these people are coming in to help Iran and more to do with everywhere's fighting. Morning, Peep. Yeah, there's kind of like the question of like I think it's a worthwhile question asking if this was done to have something to do with the midterms. I don't know enough about that. No, everyone wants links. You can't have links. You're not allowed links, okay? No links. Yeah, slow living. You think that it's because he wants to use the War Powers Act to stop elections. I think it's definitely worth considering, right? Because there are very few explanations as to why he would do this. Sorry, I'm trying to go up and read my chat as I go. Yeah, exactly, Foggy. I mean, did we obliterate Iran's nuclear capacity or not? I think people should be very afraid of the small tactical nukes that are around. Like, I think people think there's like 4 nuclear weapons in the world. There's not. Jill lost. I think all of those things play in. I'm just saying there's not a clear, unified theory for why you would do this. He'd require congressional approval, Christoph. I mean, he doesn't seem to care, does he? I'll be interested to see how Congress act. What? It's Monday now. Oh no, it's not. It's not for you guys. It's not for you guys. Whoa. Should we see what's happening?
Not only with efforts in the House as well as the U.S. Senate to pass legislation that would require a debate as well as a vote, but also seeing that this can
exactly, Keith,
in terms of this being discussed. So we expect this to happen in the next 2 or 3 days. Even if it passes, however, we expect
this fucking hat
will veto any effort to limit his power.
White House correspondent Kimberly Halkett reporting live from Washington.
I told you though, watch what happens when people try to veto him. He'll use these dead servicemen to be like, what, you don't want me to respond? People died for this. You don't want me to respond? He does love Netanyahu, but it's not enough that he was pressured by Netanyahu. Even that is not enough. I think he wants out of the Middle East, miffed muffin, and I think in his mind, he just thinks that all he has to do is get rid of the Ayatollah and then Iran will be wrapped up and done. Oh, vid volume very low. Sorry. It's blasting in my freaking ears.
Kimberly, many thanks indeed.
An aircraft carrier in the Arabian Sea, but they did not give details about whether those rockets or those missiles have hit their targets.
Every time you see Trump in a situation room, remember that all he cares about is recreating the Obama photo. Never forget how bad this man wants to be that man. There is nothing in his mind that he thinks about more than beating Obama. That's all he thinks about. By the way, unrelated, medical professionals reading the Epstein files are now submitting reports to medical associations against the dog. Good, peep, because there's some real fucked up biotech shit in the Epstein files. He thinks Iran is Venezuela. Exactly. There's just this, he has this idea, it's like you get rid of the leader and it's done. And it's like, not every country works like this, bro. He has a lot of war hawks, but he actually has a lot of realists too, which is what was confusing, Katie, because it's like, I think he wants to wrap up Iran so he can be done with the Middle East theater and focus on China, which is what he ultimately wants. But it's just like a false reading of how you deal with Iran.
This is a part of a...
There is a desire in times of war.
Okay, so these men died with the targeting of the Abraham Lincoln.
To your enemy. And so it's not surprising that we are not getting any...
He wouldn't argue that this is a conflict he initiated. He would argue that this is an ongoing existential conflict between good and evil, and that Iran... That's why in his speech he was going all the way back to the 70s. Duda, thank you so much! To him, he didn't start this war. Iran started this war by being evil. So, like, it's one thing to... He would say that Iran was gonna have a nuclear weapon, gonna have ballistic missiles. If he didn't do it, and you know that, like, to the extent that Netanyahu does matter, I told you guys this, he will have been in Trump's ear being like, you're the only man brave enough to do it. No other president has been brave enough to take on Iran. You're the only man that's brave enough to just get it done. Vance, I'm not even kidding, Cicero. Vance lost his shot at being president when Clavicula said that he was ugly. And that is when it shifted to Rubio. I'm not even kidding. That sounds so ridiculous. But the people backing him, 100% was like, it's not possible. He doesn't have the youth. We have to move to Rubio. He doesn't see himself as having started this war or that this is a war. This is an act of war. It's not a war. It's an act of war. He did one thing. Okay, I'll do that in the future, Clint. Tom, Trump was a gift to Bibi, and the Bibi being able to get what he wants is only possible under Trump. In the same way, Iran could have got what they wanted under Trump too, but it just didn't work out that way. It had to fall down one way, and it didn't fall in their favor.
Detail about that in the statement from the U.S. Central Command, the not wanting to project to its enemy that they have suffered any sort of losses or any sort of damage. But again, as my colleague has confirmed, the Iranians have claimed that they have fired 4 ballistic missiles against the USS Abraham Lincoln and claimed that they have struck the Abraham Lincoln, even as the United States is not confirming the damage.
All right, Kimberly, many thanks indeed. Al Jazeera's White House correspondent, Kimberly.
So in a traditional vertical war, this attack would have happened after the Israel attack, but before any of the GCC countries were hit. You think Tucker will run? I just get so bored by American discussions about who's going to run for president. It's like, you guys, like in Australia, our election campaigns last, an 8-week campaign is a long campaign. The Australian public gets tired at 8 weeks. A good campaign lasts 6 weeks. You guys are still like 2 years out for an election. You're not even at your midterms, and you're already talking about who's going to be president. I'm like, guys, how about you get through the current president? How about you deal with that? Teal and Co., I think, will shift to Rubio. I think they already shifted. When they were all out in their yachts over New Year's, I think they all had a meeting, all the Richie guys, and they moved to Rubio. And they'll go for Cuba, and Rubio will have that as his shining accomplishment going into the presidential campaign, that he did the Cuba thing. He won't be when he gets sexy from all the peptides he's going to take, Keith, and when he gets Cuba. I just feel like it's the only political discussion that anyone ever seems to have in America is about like who is going to be president. Like, how about you discuss the issues that are currently happening instead of being like, because when you're constantly discussing like who is going to run for president, it feels like you are saying this one person will fix it. Like, okay, yeah, there's this problem now with welfare and healthcare and voting and all of these problems, and it's fine though, because in a couple of years, this person will run and they will fix it. And it's like, how about you just make your political system work for you now and use the people you have in power now and make them represent you because they are your representatives. Questions about midterm election accessibility are totally valid, Faith, and a completely different thing. Talking about who is going to be in charge in 2028 and who you should vote for in 2028 is stupid. Guys, there are too many people in my chat. I'm just a small bean. I'm trying to keep up. Bohemian Grove discussions. I haven't been following them. Nihon, I'll have to look at the more perfect union stuff. It's because our country has spent the last 3 decades telling people that the only thing that matters is voting. Exactly. You should just have compulsory voting. Then you don't have to have the discussion. Any chiseling happening yet? No, Pete, but trust me, he's going to be hot by 2028. I have a feeling. Clear, that's so funny. What do you think about the Iran is evil won't sync with the populist MAGA anti-establishment messaging? It's too neo. What do you think about the Iran is evil won't sync with the populist MAGA? It's America first. I mean, it's very interesting to me how like existentially evil Russia, China, and Iran are in America. And obviously Iran has spent its entire like it does run on like a death to America thing. So I'm not saying that there's no reason for Americans to have that point of view. But I think the America First crowd won't like it, especially with dead servicemen. It's smoking now, but I think it's sweet because I'm smoking now, but it's all sweet because I'll think about quitting in a few years. Exactly like. Do we have any boat spotters? There's something about the US claiming to sink a Jarman class. Yeah, who are our boat guys? Do we have any boat guys in the chat? Yeah, Marino, exactly. Hey, Maf. Dr. Octobomb, Cuba will go next. Cuba will be the next to fall. They're coming for Cuba. Come on, chat. Let's help Joe out by being less interesting. Please, Hornet. Thoughts on possible motivation for Trump attacking being when he truthed about it? No, because Mift, he said he gave 400 million reasons for attacking Iran. He went all the way back to the 70s. He threw all this shit at the wall. Every reason that you could have for invading Iran or attacking Iran, he gave it. So I don't know if any of them are true. Exactly, Katie. Could Turkey be a target after Iran? I don't think he would attack Turkey. I don't think so. I think he wants nothing to do with Europe, to be quite frank. Suffering from success. Compulsory voting? But freedoms. No, it is free. Voting is your freedoms. I will not pick fights with the Yankees in the chat. If Rubio starts going on podcasts. Guys, yeah, this is the thing. I don't trust anything until I've heard it from Theo Von. I know the technical things. Both guys definitely do politics. He's definitely going after Greenland. There's no going after Greenland again. That's currently in motion. He's just going to try and buy it first. Helmsman, that feels like it's a boat guy. Okay, not the Senate. The Senate isn't people's representatives, but people do have representatives in the House of Representatives. Do you guys call it the House of Representatives? What do you call it? You have representatives. Guys, I'm almost at the bottom. Okay, there we go. Whew. Whoa. That was intense there for a moment. Had to be a real streamer.
Thousands and, by all accounts, tens of thousands of its own people.
Yeah, some people died in a shelter. Here, you're seeing it here.
And the protests that erupted in January. Israel's issue was the nuclear program, the missiles, and the militias that threaten Israel. All of that with a meta-narrative of Khamenei himself and the rest of the leadership of the Islamic Republic constantly predicting Israel's doom, suggesting they would...
They're going to try and buy Greenland. Okay? They're going to go for Greenland. I have a video on why. If you'd like to watch my video on why, I'm almost certain it will happen. Then it'll be Cuba. And Ahmadinejad said they're coming for Iran. Killer Mike already told us. Steve Bannon is hiding because of the Epstein files. I wish I set something like that up. Oh, I did. Oh my God. Oh my God. Look at me. We cover all Cartels Week. We cover all the baddies here. We monitor the situation. We cover the baddies. We do it all. Okay. Trump has officially announced war on Iran. Times of India. Okay, we're not trusting that, guys. Emergency meeting from the UNSC. Doesn't really matter, does it? 9 killed at protest at the US consulate in Pakistan. So that's the Shia protests that I told you about that are going to happen. If Trump loses an aircraft carrier, will he get impeached? I don't think so. The Gulf states do not view themselves as ones who get bombed. To have bomb shelters would invoke that image that a bomb is possible, which is something the Gulf countries would never want to do. They wouldn't view it as attacking Greenland. It wouldn't be an attack. They wouldn't do it that way. But they will force the issue. But what do I cover the baddies in? My outfit? It's a white t-shirt. Because I got a note. As many of you know, I got a note. Would you like to hear it? It's important. Because I take feedback seriously. Yes, Pakistan and Afghanistan is still fighting. It's really important that you guys understand. Hi, I'm really sorry if this is rude, but it's my honest opinion that your beauty distracts from your content. I find it genuinely hard to watch your videos because of this. Maybe ask around a bit. I might not be the only one who feels this way. I think it's holding you back, but I don't know though. Maybe it's just me. I know you can't change what your face looks like, but maybe do less makeup. I feel like your eyes and lips are already prominent enough. Again, I feel so bad saying this. I hope this isn't rude. Anyway, keep up what you do. Just some feedback. So I really can't afford to wear anything too sexy because I'm already too beautiful and it's holding me back. So that's why we tend to wear a nice baggy tee. Sorry guys, if anyone asks why I'm not more successful, please let them know. It's because I'm too beautiful. Okay? Just if anyone asks. It's not even, I just didn't even, it's the only criticism I really expect to receive. Well, accept receiving, to be honest. And then Formica said he shared my video and got in trouble for being into Guna politics. So, and that's me wearing clothes that go all the way up to my neck. So, very fun. He's not a sub. No one who gives me feedback on how to be better is a sub. Please. That's ridiculous. I should go audio only. Do you know the real advice? And I do have to tell you guys, and you're going to disagree with me because the men love to say the opposite, but I am correct. The real advice is that if I wanted to be more successful, I would just have to be a man. If I were an ugly woman, I would be punished for that. And the advice I would get would be to put more effort into my appearance. As a woman that is not deemed as ugly, I'm told that I'm too beautiful and therefore I can't be intelligent because obviously beautiful women can't be smart. So the only real way out of it is to just be a male. So you admit it. You think you're pretty. Well, yeah, I couldn't, it wouldn't work as a trans man. I'd have to go back and decide to be born a man. I don't think Israel will do that. Have I considered smiling? I love covering war. I try to become a tealite. Every single stream, I express my willingness to be paid for by Peter Thiel, and he has not come a-knocking. Today, the war in Iran escalated. The decide is a joke, Jill. Guys, I wanted to read some stuff. Okay, so I'm going to read. Okay. This one has been getting shared a lot, so we'll do a little ready read of this. I'll put on my ready voice for you guys. Sorry that it's bright. You're just going to have to get over it. Okay? I know it upsets you. I don't care. I'm a difficult woman. What can I say? Okay. Teal is gay, but gay men love me. I don't know what you're talking about, pussies. Gay men are a huge part of my audience. And by my audience, I'm not talking about anyone here. I'm talking about people in my life, because that's how I refer to my friends. They're my audience. Why does it feel like an insult when I say I want to read? Because you fuckers leave me when I read, because you're like, oh, boring. Ew, smart knowledge. The latest Israeli and US war on Iran began with airstrikes on the home and offices of Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei. The premise seemed to be that Khamenei's sudden elimination would pose a dire threat to the current ruling system. The goal would be to achieve what happened in Libya after Muammar al-Gaddafi, or in Syria after Bashar al-Assad, where regimes collapsed as soon as their leaders were no longer in power. In those systems, the state's future was tied to a single person. So pretty much exactly what we've been saying, but we will continue to read. I've already told you this, but let's hear it from someone else in case they expressed it better. But Iran's history and approach to survival are different. Few contemporary governments concentrate as much visible authority in a single office as Iran does in that of the supreme leader. Religious legitimacy, command of the armed forces, and ultimate political arbitration converge there. Yet visibility should not be confused with fragility. The office rests atop a dense network of institutions designed not simply to serve the leader, but to constrain him, monitor him, and, if necessary, outlast him. The Islamic Republic is not just a personal regime with religious language. It is a revolutionary system. Guys, I told you this. Never forget that revolution is more important than religion to the Islamic Republic. It is a revolutionary system that has invested heavily in planning for leadership changes. When under pressure, it's structured. Okay, something I do want to say, though, is Khomeini was really only in charge for 10 years, and most of that time when he was in charge was dominated by the Iran-Iraq war. Khamenei really built a lot of this system. He really built the political system that makes up the Islamic Republic, and he was the leader for 37 years? He was a leader for a very long time. And so while it is true that the system is built to work this way, we don't know if it will work this way. You know what I mean? There's always the opportunity that it doesn't work out the way that, the IRGC could do a coup. There are lots of things there could be a bottom-up revolution. So just because something is built to work and operate a certain way doesn't mean that it will. I just want to put that caveat in the same way it's like, oh my God, there's no way that the Ayatollah would just be in his home. Well, he was. So sometimes things don't go the way that we see them going, okay? And just because something is built to operate a certain way and it's like, okay, yeah, well, getting rid of the leader won't do anything. It's like, well, it might. You don't know. Iran's political behavior cannot be understood without recognizing how deeply its ruling elite reads history. The Iranian state has experienced repeated periods of political vacuum over the centuries, and its political imagination remains defined by them. Every crisis is measured against earlier collapses, whether consciously or instinctively. What do you mean, peep? In terms of the system? No. Very close system. Even though Jafari Shiite law does not accept analogies, it's like me and hypotheticals. God, we're so alike. Iran's leaders often use history as a guide, almost automatically. Events such as the fall of the Qajar dynasty, the Safavid collapse of the Esfahan capture, the chaos after Nader Shah's death, and the civil wars following Karim Khan Azad's death. Sorry, guys. All taught the same lesson. When there is no clear leader, the country risks falling apart. For those who led the 1979 revolution, problems with leadership change were not just ideas, they were real warnings from history. Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini did not eliminate the supreme authority. Instead, he made it part of the system. The intense debates of 1979 about how to avoid past mistakes of collapse led to new answers in Iran's constitution. Each major body was created to solve a specific risk exposed by history. I'm a Sith. Thank you. Yeah, so it's got a lot of it, like as I said, in terms of like when people are like, oh my god, what will happen after now that Khamenei's dead? It's like, okay, well, that's literally the first point in the constitution. What happens when the leader dies? It's like point number 1. Okay. Need regular like and sub reminders. Okay. I don't like telling people to sub to me because I feel like a desperate person. And I feel like if I create enough value, people will just do it on their own. And I don't have to be like, please, sir, can you give me some money for what I do? But also give me money for what I do. Because you give money to other streamers who don't fucking do shit, who sit around and play games. I could play a game. But instead, I want to teach you about Iran. No, but you don't have to give me money. I don't care. It's fine. Oh my god. Thank you, Matthew. It works, though. That's the problem. I hate doing it, and then I do it, and it works, and it's kind of like, okay. Thank you, Matthew. Thank you for being a long-term supporter of the stream and a big chatter and an important part of this community, and now an important investor in Moralcoin. I know, legitimately, you got to ask. I hate asking, though. I hate it. It makes me feel gross. I also got the opportunity to join this like creator thing that looks like it's for OnlyFans without the naked stuff. And I don't know. It's like you can start like group chats and stuff. I don't know. I don't know. Guys, I'm being perceived right now and I hate it. Stop. I can't ask for money and be looked at the same time. It creates some sort of real odd feeling in me. Thanks, Permo. I appreciate that. Yes. The Guardian Council was formed to guard against political drift and to keep laws in line with this. Thank you, Sean. You guys. I appreciate it. And I like it when people who are really active in the chat sub because I feel the sense of community. I feel like we're doing something. Okay? Wait, you gift. Thank you for gifting. Oh, hey, a real streamer that creates a lot of value. Okay, so if you accept Bitcoin, Joe, I'll happily send you that. I want to get into Bitcoin, but it seems to be crashing, and I'm scared. Thank you, Faith. Okay, guys. Thank you, Faith. I'm sorry to the men. I love my women in chat. Thank you, the crow. Oh, you got the gift from Faith? Well, thank you, Faith. Okay. Okay. Guys, things are getting... Did the cheer work? Have I set anything up for cheers? Guys. Okay. Let me... Oh, it did work. Time of gifts, thank you so much for cheering. I think it worked. Oh, guys, thank you for cheering. Jilost, thank you for cheering. Oh my god, Bad Horse. Thank you, guys. Okay, oh my god. Bad Horse W. It's the year of the horse. And we can all feel it. Okay, guys, let me tell you about the Islamic Republic. Ooh. This deliberate network of overlapping bodies was designed not just to add layers, but to offer resilience. If one part failed, others could step up. The aim was to make sure the country would not rely on just one person to survive. Khomeini put it simply, keeping the Islamic Republic safe is more important than protecting any one person, no matter how important. This way of thinking still shapes how leaders act. That's also really important to the Ayatollah dying, right? Like, ultimately, the way that Khamenei wanted to die was martyrdom. He doesn't want to die of old age, and it would never be like, he's not an Assad, right? Like, he's never going to... Peep, thank you for becoming a member. He was never going to... Guys, I love monitoring the situation. That's good for us. But he was never going to run away the way that Assad did, because it was never about him personally wanting to survive, right? It was about, in Iran, it's about the... Yes, Peep, yes! Aeon Lord Arch, hell yeah. Well, I'm happy to be the first person that you ever joined on YouTube, and I'll do my best to be worthy of such a title. Yeah, so Khamenei was never... He's always going to go down with the ship, basically. As the big H guy. Who's the big H guy? Who's the big H guy? Having a Capricorn moon is not for the weak, by the way. H bomber guy. It sucks to be us. Hitler? Oh, yeah, but Hitler was a Cancer, wasn't he? Or a Gemini? A Cancer, I believe. I think he was a Cancer. Could be worse. Okay. The system faced its first big test early on. After President Abolasan Banasada was impeached, both President Muhammad Ali Rajai and Prime Minister Mohammad Javad Bahona were elected and then killed within a month. Shit. Well, guys, the only thing you really need to know is that I was born on the same day as Aisho Speed and Rasputin. So if you want to work out my personality, triangulate that. Thank you, Slow Living. Yes, Aishwaspeed and Rasputin. Guys, please, stop talking about astrology. I gotta read this. We have to learn. We have to learn. Although, did you see that really famous astrologist Star Heel was like, I think that the US will attack. I think that the US will attack Iran on yeah, I retweeted it. It was funny to me. In my video, I say I think the US will attack Iran February 26, 27, or maybe 28 because of the Mars square Uranus transit in hard aspect to the moons of both countries, setting off the recent eclipse degrees. Absolutely brutal day for dudes with astrology girlfriends. So good. Okay. The system faced its... Okay, I'm not saying all these names again. Still, in less than 50 days, Khamenei became president, showing the regime could quickly find new leaders during a crisis. 8 years later, after Khomeini died, the same approach worked again. Khamenei, who did not have Khomeini's charisma, he is a very uncharismatic guy. Like, obviously, there's a lot of things that you can say about him being evil and terrible and a dictator, but we also have to acknowledge he lacked riz in a huge way that you don't often see with dictators, okay? Khamenei, who did not have Khomeini's charisma or top religious rank, became supreme leader because the institutions agreed, not because it was expected. So that was another thing that I wanted to tell, like that I mentioned earlier, but for those of you who weren't here, Arafi, who's currently the stand-in supreme leader, is likely to be announced the leader because he has IRGC support. There's a lot of he's held really important positions. So a lot of people will tell you that he's probably going to be the leader. But the reason you won't find many Iran experts who are willing to come out and say that is because Khamenei was never the expected choice. He was a surprise choice for supreme leader. So the one time that this has happened before, the guy that everyone thought would get it didn't get it. So that's why there's some sort of hesitation there. The main message within the Iranian state was clear. The system must outlast any one person. And recent events have shown this principle again. When President Ibrahim Raisi died in a helicopter crash in 2024, the constitution's rules were followed right away. Power shifted smoothly, elections happened quickly, and the system stayed stable. Instead of causing chaos, the crisis acted as a practical run for handling sudden leadership changes. Iran's constitution explicitly anticipates sudden leadership lots. I told you guys. Saturn is the traditional owner of the ruling house for Aquarius because at the time when astrology was created, Uranus didn't really function. Article 111, I told you, very first article, stipulates that if the supreme leader dies or becomes incapacitated, authority transfers immediately to an interim council composed of the president, the head of the judiciary, and a senior cleric selected through the expediency council. So that's Pezeshkian, the president, the head of the judiciary, whose name escapes me, and Arafi, who's been selected, the senior cleric, who's been selected through the expediency council. Okay. Guys, are you still talking about astrology in the chat right now? Am I gonna have to kill you? Don't make me kill you. Focus on the expediency council. I'm a Cancer rising too, legit cookie. It's tough. It's actually one of the tougher. Every placement I have is kind of the toughest placement to have, but being a Cancer rising is tough. You have 12 moods a day. Guys, I'm focused. You're focused. We're focused. The goal is to keep leadership steady, not to change the political system. Importantly, the Constitution lists a qualification for the next leader, but does not limit the choice to a strict religious path. Important. You thought we'd be safe until the hours of darkness? We're never safe. Not here. As for the succession process itself, while the Assembly of Experts officially votes, like a conclave, the real decision happened much earlier. Told you that even though that's going to happen, the IRGC probably already knows. Usually 3 informal steps help narrow down the choice. The IRGC does not officially select the Supreme Leader, but it has significant influence over which risks are acceptable. Candidates who might weaken the country's defense or unity usually do not get much backing. So I think Khamenei's son and Khomeini's son would both create issues. So I don't think that the IRGC would support either of them. Okay? So I think they're automatically out, even though you'll hear their names thrown around. If the Supreme Leader's position is vacant, the IRGC intelligence organization would likely watch top officials more closely, and the ground forces would focus on keeping the country stable. The IRGC's main goal would be to keep the system strong and independent, and to protect its own economic interests. Political culture flows through relational networks centered in Qom. Any successor must possess a theological profile capable of securing at least tacit validation from senior clerics, because, of course, he is the guardian of all the Muslims until the 12th Imam returns. Even though the 12th Imam is here, but hidden. Until the 12th Imam reveals himself. Ta-da! You should tell her, amateur. Tell her what she wants to know. Oh my gosh, Peep, we're like the same but different. I'm an Aquarius with a Cappy moon, and I'm a Cancer rising. Besides religious and security factors, the story around succession is important. It is shaped not only by institutions, but also by how events are described. The way a leader dies affects what happens next. If a leader dies in war, the idea of martyrdom could mean only those seen as steady and strong will be considered. The most sensitive time would probably come after the new leader is chosen, not before. The new leadership would have to quickly prove its authority at home and show stability to the outside world. In countries shaped by revolution and uncertainty, this proof is shown through actions, not just symbols. Interesting. During transitions, some actions may look confusing to outsiders. Moves that seem aggressive from abroad might actually be meant to reassure people inside the country and show the leadership is still strong. What looks like chaos from far away could really be an attempt to bring things back to normal. People often expect sudden collapse, but they may not see how the system is built to handle shocks. Different groups usually prefer to keep the system together rather than push their own interests too far. Iran is frequently portrayed as a political order bound tightly to individuals, yet the architecture that emerged after 1979 was formed by a different logic, one founded in the revolutionary experience itself. Khomeini captured this hierarchy in a remark often cited within Iran's political elite. Preserving the Islamic Republic is more important than preserving any individual, even if that individual were the Imam of the age. Guys. Imagine. That's like having a Christian nationalist state and being like, preserving the state is more important even than preserving any individual, even if that individual is Jesus. Them are big words. A reference to Shiism's 12th Imam, Muhammad al-Mahdi. I personally would not say that about the 12th Imam if I were Shia, but I mean, I assume the Supreme Leader knows more than me. But that is crazy. That shows you how important the system is if you're willing to say that. It is still unclear whether the system will always follow this principle, but one should expect a change in leadership in Tehran to be treated less as an ending and more as a chance for the country's institutions to show they can survive. Well, there you go. Did we like this article? I think it was good. Ali Hashem is often on Al Jazeera as well. He's smart. I like him. You don't think they're religious? The beard doesn't convince you? You're not fooled by the beard? Okay. Is he good looking? I'm not sure. Let's check. You're right. We shouldn't really make any decisions until we know what he looks like. It's not what I expected. Yeah, none of this is news to those who monitor the situation, but there are almost 300 people here, and I can't assume that everyone's been hardcore monitoring the information. Look, Ali looks better here than he does here. Look. Well, exactly. You're so right, my son. He's the perfect amount of beautiful, because if he was too beautiful, we wouldn't appreciate the article because we'd be distracted by his beauty. So he's actually the perfect amount of good looking. He's good looking enough that we're not disgusted, but not so good looking as it creates a distraction. He's perfect. Okay. Well, that's great. Tiggs, don't tease me with shit. Just say it. Let me go back to monitoring the situation momentarily. Can I ask you a question? Just ask me a fucking question, bro. Oh, is he? I bet he is, Peep. That was written like he was a handsome man. Actually, that annoys me because men shouldn't be handsome, one, and men shouldn't be handsome and good at writing because that is someone I don't trust, straight up. Yuck. What do you mean? Must be a slut. Immediately, you're not allowed to look like that and be good with words. Okay, let's just check what's going on. Yeah, Germany Chancellor Merz warns of Iranian intelligence activity in Europe. Told you guys. Oh, he's gay? That's okay then. That's the exception. Peep. Then that is fine. That's all right. Just that one little extra detail changes everything. Video verfix? France condemns Iran's attack. Okay. On the Gulf states. That's a nice little, middle of the road condemnation. Pakistan PM Shabazz postpones Russia visit. Fair enough. I wouldn't want to be flying right now. Okay. Not seeing anything that requires our intense. I'm not seeing anything that we need to worry about yet. The only reason a man has to be handsome is to lie. Exactly. Woman talk good, confused man brain. Mass airstrikes. Let's just check in on Al Jazeera, see what they're up to.
Gone. If regime change in Iran is the objective, how stable will the country be?
Well, no one can say. I mean, that's, we have examples that you have already demonstrated a minute ago, and these.
Oh. Okay, what does this mean? That fuck around, find out vibes. Iran. I wonder if had ever thought they would wake up to the world, their own slavery, and give people the courage to speak. I don't know what this means, though. It means you're scary, Faith. It means you're a badass. We've already covered that, though, Hornet. So the 3 military people dead, Trump is saying doesn't matter. Which is crazy. Iran has named the people for the Transition Council, which is just Pezeshkian, the head of the judiciary, and Arafi. We already talked about that. Redundant. I just lie about being handsome. And you know what? Weirdly, that works on women. I'm gonna like, yeah, I guess. Zaluk, all of the Commonwealth countries' response were horrendous. Like, Australia didn't need to jump and be like, oh my God, I would love to. I don't want to make predictions because then the thing is, I'll make a prediction and then if I'm wrong, none of you will ever trust me again. I think the internet is back up in Iran, but I don't think that it would be hard to take down, right? Asax, I don't know, is that how I say your name, Asax?
Ago, and these, all
No
of
one
these.
asked you to start talking. I think they did try for a clean sweep, but the problem is, the leadership is so extensive. How are you going to do it? Because this is the thing. Originally, I was like, you're going to need extreme intelligence to be able to do what you would need to do. Asa, okay, cool. Asa, like to be able to take out, given that there are like 6 command and control chains, and then it's such a decentralized leadership, and there are so many different forms of like institutional councils. You would need to take out hundreds of people to do a clean sweep. And they took out 40, right? But it's simply not enough. So the intelligence you would need, it's not possible. Dog's lyrics. What did you say, Dog's lyrics? You'll get the Hassan Russia treatment. Listen. You want a prediction? My prediction is the Gulf countries will intervene if too much of their oil shit is impacted by, if their oil infrastructure, their oil refineries. No, it's not idiotic because it makes sense. You're like, okay, why, if they're just going to elect someone new, why wouldn't you take out their whole command and control? And this is what I mean in terms of like, it feels like these people don't know. Like, it's one thing for you not to fully understand the Iranian system. It's a foreign system. Why would you know about it, right? But if you're going to invade a country, if you're going to bomb a country, you should probably know how it works. You should probably know what's going on. How would the Gulf states intervene? With their own armies? Did that go away? Well, I don't know. Everyone's saying they want to wait for months. Hang on. $7.27. There may be a big boom tonight. Intervene on behalf of themselves, Dog's lyrics. Like, the Gulf states will start using their own military because they are being attacked. They don't want to fight Iran because they don't want to be involved in a war. Big boom, Hornet. Darkness is our friend. People do their big shit when it's nighttime because they have the cover of darkness, but they won't act until they have air superiority. They didn't have air superiority last night. They do tonight. I made the prediction that it will rain heavy once they have air superiority. I know you do your big shit in the morning, but that's not when armies do their big shit. What if Iran follows a girl boss trend and we see the first female leader of Iran? Not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. Any theories or predictions on the bombings of school? No. I mean, what is there to predict there? Saudi princes don't really do anything. They just kind of sit, like, that's just a way of him shirking responsibility. But they won't do it unless, I don't think they will do it. Oh yeah, authorizes retaliatory strikes. Okay. Mohammed bin Salman, if necessary. What does this mean though? How do you define what is necessary? MBS, if necessary, calling attempted attacks by Iran against the east of the country and Riyadh as cowardly, and stating that Iran knows that Saudi airspace was not used for the strikes. Yeah, but that's not why he's attacking you. I just think this is a bit of a shirking of responsibility, right? Because it's like, I authorize them, they can, but I don't have to choose to do it. Stat check for the new audience. Hang on. Joe, stat check for the new audience, TLDR on who and why you're qualified to talk about this situation. I'm Joanna. I did my undergraduate in international relations and strategic security, focusing on the Middle East, doing an Arabic major and living in the Middle East in Oman, in Muscat. I also spent some time in Abu Dhabi. I spent a lot of time in Gulf countries. I've been to Saudi. So I have studied the region extensively. I was also a PhD student, so I know how to research very well, and I taught international relations at university, so I know how to teach people about things. But of course, even though I speak from a place of relative knowledge compared to people who don't know anything about this region, which is a lot of people, because why would you? That doesn't mean that I am always correct. That doesn't mean that I can't be wrong. I definitely can be wrong. There are lots of things. Even if you were the ultimate international relations scholar, you can still be wrong, because people don't always act the way that you want them to act. People don't always act the way you think they're going to act. So I can give you breakdowns of how systems work, why I think people are doing what they're doing, how I think things will escalate, and I can give you suggestions for how I think things will go, or ideas about motivations and why I think people are acting certain ways. But yeah, obviously, at the end of the day, I am still a Twitch streamer. I also worked for the Palestinian delegation, so I've worked in diplomacy, and I was the note taker for the Council of Arab Ambassadors. So I spent a lot of time in diplomatic meetings. But yeah. What made me interested in the Middle East? I studied Israel-Palestine in high school because I did a modern history. I did modern history. And I was very upset by what happened there. Okay. And I felt that I wanted to be able to read the news in Arabic so I could better understand what the hell was going on. So I simply learned Arabic.
Look at you.
Holy moly. Thank you, Dog's Lyrics. I appreciate you. Why do I think Mark Carney supported the strikes? I think all Commonwealth, all Five Eyes countries are going to support the attacks, even though they're obviously illegal and horrible, because there is too much integration of defense forces, particularly defense forces in the region. So you have a lot of Canadian and Australian troops in those areas. You have a reliance on defense materials. There's just still too much defense integration between the countries for them to speak out against it. It's still very disappointing that Mark Carney and Anthony Albanese were so sycophantic in their support and so kind of like just a complete abandoning of international law. But thank you, Dog's Lyrics. It means a lot to me, guys, when you sub, because sometimes I stress out and I'm like, يا درست اللغة العربية في جامعات لكن لا أن أفهم أرمية أتكلم فصحى فقط. So I can put a list of things that I read regularly in my Discord so that you can all have access to it. Your first time subbing on Twitch? Yeah! Oh my gosh! Thank you so much. Guys, I have a kink. It's being people's first time. Hell yeah. What's the current situation? We're holding the situation. We're holding. Thank you, Wallach. There was an earthquake yesterday. Has there been another earthquake? Let me monitor the situation. Shit. Another one! Malaysia, truly Asia. This is where there was an earthquake yesterday. IDF mobilizes 100,000 reservists. None of the Orthodox, though, because they have to study. Pretty much paradiddle. Because, yeah, I was really disappointed in it too. Mark Carney makes this big statement in terms of like, oh no, okay. It was very disappointing for them to pivot to China economically, but then in defense, look, I wish it was different. The truth is, America has everyone under their fucking thumb. If you're Europe, if you're any of the Commonwealth nations, I don't have any Arab heritage. I have a Pakistani sister-in-law, and I have a lot of friends in the Middle East, and I have a lot of Middle Eastern friends from Australia, but I don't have. I'm spiritually Arab, but I don't have any actual Arab heritage. No one in my family is Arab. You hate MBS's smug face. Yeah, I think he's ugly. I'm not spiritually Chinese. I don't like drinking warm water in the morning. 你有非常漂亮的头发. That means you have beautiful hair. Oh, earthquake near Bangladesh as well. Affecting 60,000 people. Gee, yeah, this is the 12th Imam becoming visible. He's showing himself. We weren't ready. Hi, Freddie.
And they had intelligence that Iran was about to attack US targets, which led them to launch the war with Israel. But of course, there are many on the Democratic side who now want an emergency debate in Congress about this because they want to know.
Do you want another one? Я прекрасно говорю по-русски. What was I going to say? Do I know what my ancestry is? Irish, English. I am the one thing that I have said about my ancestry is I come from a long line of king fuckers. I come from a long line of religious royal mistresses, people who have been consorts of the king. And I was learning today about Princess Joanna of Spain, who I have no relation to. But God, she and we are so the same. Just said, love a girl through and through. Her husband did not like her, and she was like, you will like me. I will go mad, and then I will be known as Joanna the Mad, because I will not let this go. You will like me. Yes, for real. Always a consort, never the queen.
22. Most of them are Hermes, and they belong to both the Israeli and the American armies. So, I mean, the Iranians are making it loud and understood and clear that this time around they are going to resist, they are going to strike back as hard as they can, and that they have not yet used all their force or the strongest components of their armed forces and their missiles, and they are promising that day by day the Americans are going to pay a heavy cost, also the Israelis, and this war is not like any war that has preceded it. But Iran this time around consider it an existential war.
Told you this already.
There will be no bowing down, there will be no giving up or letting up until they show the enemy that Iran can defend itself and preserve its dignity and independence.
Mohammed, Iran's president has spoken publicly for the first time since the killing of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. He vowed to follow in the footsteps of the supreme leader. Masoud Pezeshkian said that the armed forces of Iran will continue to strike hard and destroy the military bases of its enemies.
Today, the Leadership Council has started
you
its
guys
work,
have done it now.
and with the help of God, it will continue in the footsteps of the Supreme Leader with strength. the armed forces of the Islamic Republic of Iran are striking the military bases of
Hang
the enemy
on.
hard and will continue to do so.
Pezeshkian,
We will
stop.
force
No, he didn't die. Ahmadinejad died, but he hasn't been president for a while. Pezeshkian only became president last year when Raisi died in the helicopter. He's like, you thought you got me? Try again. Guys, I look Australian. I look about as Australian as you can get. I look like every other blonde Australian woman. Guys, we're monitoring the situation. Trump is saying, apparently, he told The Atlantic in a phone call that he has new plans to talk with the Iranian regime. They want to talk. I've agreed to talk, so I'll be talking with them. What are you going to talk about? They're not going to talk to you. They don't want to talk to you. This still isn't my favorite, Tarisk. My favorite is still he would have loved not to attack Iran, but unfortunately sometimes you have to do that. Who was the guy who did the JCPOA? The Iranian? He's dead. They killed him. And fair enough. Fair enough. You gotta kill some people. Iran foreign minister signals open. It's okay. You know what? Tell me to shut the fuck up. They want to stop too. I mean, of course they want to stop. There's no benefit to them, right? Having what are the, as I told you, the victory condition for Iran is simply surviving. The victory condition for Iran is no regime change. So if Trump is like, hey, I want to talk, we can talk. You want to stop this? Let's talk. Slow living, you should definitely do it. Trump is definitely going to say mission accomplished, squall. 1,000%. But they don't literally, it was the same with Hamas, right? The victory condition for Iran is survival. That's it, because the victory condition for the US and Israel is regime change. So we're having Taco Tuesday. That's not true, pussies. They're ready to go with leadership. What are you talking about? Arafi's probably going to be it. If not, there are 5 other candidates that are good to go. But it doesn't matter because most Americans don't understand Iran. So they'll be like, we killed the Ayatollah. That was huge. It'll be like Soleimani. Like, so? Do you know what I mean? There won't be a deal. Iran won't come to the table with a nuclear deal now. You're going to end up with a more radical Iran that is more likely to pursue nuclear weapons because Khamenei was against nuclear weapons. We don't know that the new supreme leader will be. So you're actually going to end up with a more dangerous Iran. The optics of the legitimacy of their revolution, though, are bad if they let existential enemies, US and Israel, kill their spiritual leader and then casually start negotiating again. I think people underestimate how important it is to people to not be bombed. There are many people who hate the Ayatollah and may give many people who hate Khamenei who may give the new guy a go and just not want to be bombed, especially with Pezeshkian still in as president. As I told you, he's more moderate. There could be a chance for changes within Iran. But ultimately, stopping any kind of assault will be seen as a success for the regime. Exactly, Kelly. They're just doing whatever they want out here. Yeah, we know he's the interim leader. Why does this thing sometimes give me old news as new news? So we have another Schrodinger situation. Iran has both hit and not hit the USS Abraham Lincoln. What do I think of the Hassanabi Doctrine? What is a Hassanabi Doctrine? I don't know what he said about this at all. Guys, I've been monitoring this situation so closely I can't monitor what anyone else says. You have to monitor that for me. Get a nuke ASAP, that's what he says. I personally, look, I understand when people are like, oh, the dumbest thing Ukraine ever did was give up their nukes. Everyone needs nukes, blah, blah, blah. I still live in a hurdy-gurdy, airy-fairy world where I believe in nuclear non-proliferation and the decommissioning of the nuclear arsenal. And I am never, even if I understand the descriptive strategic point of view of get a nuke, you're never going to see me tell anyone to get a nuke. I'm going to say, don't get a nuke. So I understand that. I'm not saying that strategically that's a misguided point of view, right? A very realist doctrine type thing. Yeah, if you have a nuke, people are less likely to fuck with you, sure. But I mean, that would just justify Israel. Like, you have to understand we're now at a point where people think that nuclear weapons are like, boom, world destroyed. It's over, right? Mutually assured. And that is true during the Cold War. It was more like that sort of thing. But people have small nukes now, and world leaders are literally at the stage, we are in psychopath land, where people are willing to entertain the idea of a limited nuclear war using small nukes. So it's no longer a situation where people are like, oh, we'll never use a nuclear weapon. We would never use a nuclear weapon because of mutually assured destruction. No, people will use nukes now, right? They will use it. So this idea that people won't attack you because you have a nuclear weapon, that's just not true anymore. They will. Right? Like, literally, America is like, we will go to nuclear war over Taiwan. That will happen, but it will be limited and it will be fine. So it's like, no. I don't think that people should have nuclear weapons. I don't even want Australia to have nuclear submarines. So while I understand the strategic realist position of get a nuke, one, I don't think it holds strategically anymore, in the same way that it did. And two, I personally support nuclear non-proliferation. No, we're not getting those subs anymore. I can't believe we fucking fucked over the French so bad. And why no nuclear subs? Because they do nothing for us, Dustbinder. We don't need nuclear subs. We're getting the nuclear subs, which, by the way, will be manned by the US because we don't have the ability to do that. We don't have the personnel to do that, right? And it doesn't do anything for our industry. We're not building the subs. So we're basically handing over our defense sovereignty to America because they're literally going to be driving our fucking ships, right? So not only are the Americans manning the subs do not work to protect the actual Australian border. What they're there to do is to block the Malacca Strait so that if shit goes south with China, we can do what America wants us to do. So we are literally, with the AUKUS deal, just becoming a vassal state completely. It doesn't, you know what we should be spending our money on? Climate change shit. But also it is about the nuclear because we have to deal with the nuclear waste. And Australia doesn't like that. We have a bad history with nuclear waste. We don't need nuclear subs. We would have been fine with the French subs. We don't need them. We're not going to get them, so it's fine. Except it's a waste of our fucking money that we're never going to get back that should have been spent on helicopters to help us with fucking fires. That's true, Causal. We can just change the climate with nukes. Would I support helping Taiwan? Yeah. I don't think Taiwan should be invaded. But I don't think we're there yet. I don't, Blinky, don't even say that. I have a video about climate change that I am almost done with. I don't want to release it until my videos start getting more views again and I get unshadow banned, because I care so much about climate change that it's like, I don't want to release that video unless I know it's going to get views. I need people to start caring about the fucking climate. Seriously. Everyone's involved.
Hassan Hamadian and Mohamed Saloom, gentlemen, thank you both very much. Now we're going to take...
Careful expressing pro-Taiwan sentiment is an instant cancel in leftist circles. If people on the left want to cancel me, they can cancel me. If people on the right want to cancel me, they can cancel me. If liberals want to cancel me, they can cancel me. I advocate for no one except myself. I don't need to be in with a group. I don't give a shit about being in with a group. If you guys are only in my audience because you think that I'm some cool leftist that does what all the other leftists do and I'm just a waiting room until you can go to another leftist, then go somewhere else. I don't care. I'm going to tell you what I think. And I think that if it were Australia that were being invaded, I would want people to help. So, I don't know. Call me crazy. Lethality maxing. It died. Who said it first? Who started using clavicular speak in the government? I reposted it. People in my chat say that I'm being cancelled. I pre-cancel myself. I cancel myself. I think I am shadow banned, but I keep getting conflicting evidence about it. David Sachs. Fuck, I hate that guy. Yeah, he said on... David Sachs tweeted using the language on February 20th. That's when it stopped. Apparently, if you're on the left and you support Taiwan, you get cancelled. I'm not that far left, guys.
Trying to tell the Israeli public that overthrowing the government in Tehran was, was within reach, which is something that is now being disputed openly by former military leaders in Israel.
Noor, many thanks. Noor O'Day reporting live from Ramallah in the occupied West Bank. Dan Perry is an Israeli political analyst and the former chief editor of the Associated Press in Europe, the Middle East and Africa. He says Israel is still largely in control of its skies, even though some Iranian missiles have penetrated its defense system.
System is not invulnerable. It's not impregnable, but it is very, very effective. They knew all along that some missiles will get through, and it really is just a matter of luck, how much damage they cause. I suppose that the air defenses are clustered most intensively around strategic targets, which tragically is not the small town of Beit Shemesh in central Israel. So we see what happened there. Obviously, that event from an Israeli perspective is tragic, but it doesn't change the bigger picture, which is that...
The thing is, as tragic as this is, right, that people died, it's not going to change the calculations for Israelis either. They have already absorbed this loss in terms of it's already a calculation for them that they knew that Israel would come under fire when they went to war with Iran. They already know that calculation in their mind. They're like, well, we would die later anyway when Iran eventually attacked us. So in their mind, even it's not going to be a situation where 20 people die in Israel and they're like, stop this war. No, that will not happen. That's not the attitude in Israel. I can't talk about, guys, we can't have World War III and have you talking to me about climate change. I'm one girl. I'll kill myself. Okay. Yeah, I'm sure if you spoke to an Israeli today, and obviously I don't, I'm guessing, I always try and tell you what I'm guessing. I'm guessing. But like, I think knowing that I have friends in Israel, they would say, well, if we don't die today, we'll die eventually when Iran nukes us. So like, it has to be something that you are willing to do. It has to be, unfortunately, we're going to die either way. So it's either today or tomorrow. And I'd rather die with my government trying to protect me. That's what they would say. Thank you, Neon.
The skies over Israel have been largely protected. I think the percentage of missiles that have been successfully intercepted is well into the high 90%.
Just quickly, guys, because I'm working on chilling. It's a skill that I'm working on, okay? There are almost 300 people watching me. I think I should be able to get to 33 subs on Twitch tonight. My little goal. It's not an outrageous goal. I'm only 7 subs away from that. So if you would like to help me achieve my goals, I would love that. Or you can donate to me and we can add Addison Racing. So that's up to you guys. But this is me chilling. A silly yet serious goal. Let's just see what's happening, guys. It worked! Thank you, K-Step. Thank you. Guys, I'm getting so good. Did you see that? I shielded and it worked. Thank you so much, K-Step. Okay. Israel anticipates surge in targeted assassinations for regime change. I just don't think that Iran has the same level of intelligence. Targeted assassinations require so much. Oh my god, Domba, thank you for becoming a member. Teflan, the Art of Jonah, thank you so much. Guys, we're close. Look at this now. Oh my god, we're only 2 away. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you guys. Okay. So yes, I don't think that Iran has but look, watch me be wrong. Watch me log off stream tonight and then Netanyahu gets killed. I don't personally think that Iran has the intelligence or will focus on doing targeted assassinations within Israel. However, we did it! Thank you, Dustbinder, and thank you, Stickers for Cookers. Guess what, guys? Oh my god, we actually beat it. Hell yeah. Tarisk, thank you. Thank you. Oh, and it was time of gifts. I didn't even see what happened. What the hell? Okay, time of gifts. Sorry, I need to work on my actual system that I have because it doesn't work properly. Time of gifts and Tarisk, thank you very much. And Asa, thank you. Thanks, guys. It means a lot. I'm a real streamer, guys. We fucking did it, guys. We did it, gang. 2 nights in a row, we met the goal. Okay, focus. We must monitor. We must monitor the situation. Okay, yeah, so I don't think they're going to waste time with intelligence trying to assassinate people in Israel. It just doesn't seem like it makes sense in terms of use of resources, right? Intelligence is going to be working through Europe. It's going to be focused on US allies. Israel gets hits because that's important for morale. It's important to signal to Iranians. But their goal is ending these strikes as quickly as possible. And that means, okay, Permo, bye. Have a good day. Their goal is going to be focusing on changing the calculation so that the US doesn't want to continue, right? Because the longer they continue, the more unstable the people become, the more likely they are. I know, Sheriff. It feels like a big deal. Does that make you feel relieved too? We're all relieved here. They want to, because the longer that war goes on in Iran, like you have to understand, that is the more likely it becomes that the regime will fall, right? The more upset that people get. Thank you, time of gifts. The more upset people get, the more that intelligence from Israel can be used to continue to take out the leadership time and time again. A long war, even though strategically Iran is in a better position for that than the US, it's not something they want. They don't want it, right? They want it to end as quickly as possible. Yeah, they're truly more likely, and okay, I say this, I'm going to say it and then I'm going to be wrong, okay? They're more likely to target Europe than they are to try and knock out someone like Netanyahu or Yair Lapid or, anyone like that, I think. If I'm wrong, I'm not even upset about being wrong, okay? Astad, thank you so much. Guys, look at us go. I do feel bad about profiting off war. But Netanyahu and Trump and all of the military-industrial complex don't. And I'm actually a lot nicer than all of those people. So, slow living. Oh, Veil of Reason. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. U.S. protest. So there are See, this is like the protests. This doesn't matter so much to me. Hang on. There's something else. Should we read again? Let me read this one. It doesn't look that long. And I saw that someone say that it was good. So we're going to do some reading. The United States launched a major... Do you like how my voice changes when I start reading? Do you like my reading voice? The United States launched a major armed attack on Iran Saturday, striking military and political targets throughout the country. What follows are a baker's dozen worth of initial thoughts. First and foremost, this is a war of choice. The United States had other policy options available. Diplomacy appeared to have promised to prevent Iran from developing nuclear weapons. Increased economic pressure had the potential over time to precipitate regime change. Second, this is a preventative, not a preemptive war. Iran posed... Okay, there's no such thing as a preventative war, first of all, by the way. There's no such thing. You can't just make up things. Thank you, John Barron. Iran posed no imminent threat to vital US interests, true. Iran was not on the verge of becoming a nuclear weapons state or using what weapons it did have against the United States, true. At most, the threat was a gathering, manageable one. Okay. This distinction is important, as a world in which countries believe they have the right to undertake preventative strikes... Guys, I'm going to rewrite my piece on permanent security tomorrow. And I'm going to release it. And you're all going to like it. And and then we're going to go on stream and we're going to read it and we're going to like it together, because I can also write, and I should be writing. Okay, that's tomorrow's job. I have a doctor's appointment at 11, but I'll do it after that. Okay. This distinction is important, as a world in which countries believe they have the right to undertake preventative strikes against those they judge to be threats would be a world of frequent conflict. That is why such actions have no standing under international law, which no longer exists. Who cares? No one even listens. Antonio Gutierrez speaks now, the head of the UN, and people are like, why are you talking? No one listens to you anymore. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Amateur Pone. Third, the Trump administration has chosen to actually, just quickly, that I think is like one of the craziest And it's not even just a Trump thing. It truly did start under Biden, which is upsetting to say. Biden kind of reminds me of LBJ in that his domestic policy was great, but his international policy was not great. And that will always overshadow what he did domestically when people reflect on his contribution, right? And what I see is a degradation of diplomacy and the weight of international law. So, yeah, that's a real shame, but it is what it is. Stanley Baldwin commenting on the flood of new Conservative MPs elected after the 1918 general election and the rout of Asquith Liberals, a group of hard-faced men who looked like they did rather well out of the war. Yeah, that's me. But yeah, I think the death of diplomacy is something that has really occurred over the last 5 years. And when did it start? I guess it kind of started when Russia invaded Ukraine. In a serious way. Russia's invasion of Ukraine, October 7, and then this constant onslaught with Iran taking out Maduro. This has been a complete death of diplomacy. Upsetting. Third, the Trump administration has chosen an objective, regime change, that is political rather than military. Something important to note when regime change is a goal is you can military a regime out of power, but you cannot military a new regime into power, right? So you're only ever able to achieve half of the equation militarily. So that's why regime change is such a horrible military goal, because the more important part of the equation you just can't do with the military. Is there a way to go back? I don't know. I don't know. What was Biden's fuck up? He had no red lines when it came to Israel, and he said that early on. And there needed to be. And it needed to be international law. So yeah, that's the problem with regime change being a military objective. Is he going to say that right now? Military force can destroy and kill, but on its own, it cannot bring about regime change. What is needed for regime change is a viable... Oh my God, I pre-read it. What is needed for regime change is a viable alternative and requisite conditions. Sure, it is possible the attack will trigger defections from the political leadership and armed forces of Iran, but this cannot be counted on. Gaza and Hamas constitute a reminder that regimes can absorb incredible punishment, yet hang on to power. Every day that goes by in which the Iranian regime survives will be portrayed by its victory. Be portrayed by it as a victory. Told you. Simply surviving is victory condition for the Iranian regime. Fourth, regime ouster is not the same as regime change, certainly not successful regime change. Even if this clerical regime were to fall, the security forces are best positioned to take its place, not a democratic alternative. And they would likely continue Iran's current foreign policy objectives that the United States finds so objectionable. At least with Crimea, everyone was like, you're not allowed to do that. But I think you're right. Well, I mean, but the thing is, when we start going back, so if I go back to Crimea, then I'm like, okay, well, what about Georgia? He didn't honor his Rafah red line exactly. But right after October 7, he was like, there will be no red lines. And I was like, you literally just gave the craziest speech ever, because the leader of the free world should never, ever say there will be no red lines with a country that has exhibited a willingness to break international law before. Hey, I'm not saying that Biden was any worse or better. I'm saying that there was a significant degradation of people respecting international law that came after a certain point in time that has continued really badly. And I think it started there. And I think that, like LBJ, when people reflect on Biden, who I think was incredible domestically, because I'm a Labour girl, and he did a lot when it came to Labour. But I don't think people will remember him for that, unfortunately. Maybe that's true, Golben 420. But I don't think people will remember Obama for that. People will remember Obama for being the first black president, the change candidate. Al Jazeera have been listening into me. God, it's like I am the reporter for reporters. The streamer's streamer, the reporter's reporter. It's all right. I'll accept it. The thing is, if I were an influencer, I'd be an ideas influencer. So I have to be okay with the fact that I influence people's ideas. I can't get possessive. Okay? Remember my friend? She got upset because I got a Hotmail and she had a Hotmail first. I always got to remember that. You can't own things. Thank you, Tiggs. I appreciate the support. Jordan, he may not have been... Okay, yeah, he may have busted a union strike. Who was a more labor-friendly president in America in recent history? I'm not... 6 months of you tier 3? I need to change this shit because I can't see what people are doing. Thank you, Tiggs. You're the fucking best. Gildozers, let's fucking go. My bar is low for saying that someone is good when it comes to labor. And don't swear at me, you motherfucker. Get fucked. What the fuck are you talking about? Fuck you. Don't fucking swear at me. Fucking bullshit. Fucking stupid piece of shit. You gonna swear at an Australian? I'll fucking swear right fucking back at you. Thank you, Tiggs. I'm also a lady. Don't swear at me. Buddy? Tiggs, Ali Cattail says hi. Do you use that mouth to kiss your mother? Doinkulous. Fifth, using military force to kill select leaders as a means of triggering regime change, often termed decapitation, may have occurred, but it is unlikely to prove decisive in Iran, as leadership has institutionalized itself since taking power nearly 50 years ago. We've been over this so many times, guys. I feel like if you're in my audience and you don't now know that decapitation would never work in Iran, I don't think you've learned anything. Italian mix is back. Boots on the ground, very unlikely. Maybe special ops. Here's the thing. Whenever people are like, there's no boots on the ground, I'm like, there are boots on the ground. Just secret boots that we don't get to know about. But there might be some secret special ops boots on the ground. There are definitely already intelligence boots on the ground from the perspective of Israel at the very least, but probably America as well. But there are boots we know about on the ground? Public declaration that we're putting boots on the ground? No. Boots, that's my ego boost. The 12th Imam's boots are already on the ground. They're just invisible. They're currently hidden like the sun behind a cloud. Okay, but Cromwell is a completely different situation. There are always boots on the ground, yeah. There are always boots on the ground. There are always ears to the wall. Jordan's on the ground. Ever since my interaction with that special forces guy, I'm like, we shouldn't trust anything we're told ever. Because I didn't know these people were in these places. And I don't know what they're doing there. I mean, where would you put your boots if not on the ground? Great point, Elysium. We got boots in chat. We got boots monitoring the situation. Sixth. Sorry, I have a lisp, so we have to really try with that one. Sixth. The Trump administration called for regime change without preparing the conditions for an alternate to succeed. The political opposition is not united or functioning as a government in waiting. It is not in a position to accept defections, much less provide security. I missed that TLDR. Peep, I went on a date with a guy who ended up being like a special ops guy, and their way of flirting is just being like, hey, guess what we do? You're like, don't tell me that. I don't have a clearance. The date. Also, I want to say, guys, I think you definitely kill people. I was sitting there and I was like, this guy has definitely killed people. I didn't know he was special ops before I went on the date, by the way. I didn't even know he worked in defense. I thought he worked in trade. Anyway, what was I going to say? The other stream I did, I was like, oh, the Syrian people just came out of nowhere all of a sudden. And someone corrected me in the comments, and I just want to acknowledge that. They obviously didn't come out of nowhere, right? They obviously worked very long and hard to create an administration that was capable of taking over, right? And just because I am not aware, just because I didn't know, no, he showed me, Cleo, he showed me like videos of him jumping out of shit with parachutes and wearing night vision goggles, and then he was like, I gotta go. I'm away for 2 weeks. Doing stuff. Okay. But yes, I just want to say, just because I wasn't keeping track of the opposition in Syria, and so for me, I experienced that as like, oh, suddenly there's a new government in Syria. Where the fuck did that come from? Just because I wasn't monitoring the situation in Syria doesn't mean that they didn't put a whole lot of work in to establish an administration that was able to take over in Syria. I know, he literally, slow living. I know he was like, people will die and we will put boots on the ground. But unless he puts boots on the ground before this goes to Congress, I'm not certain there'll be boots on the ground, other than the boots that are on the ground. Well, yeah, I'm better at monitoring the situation now. I got to tell you, when it came to Syria, I got complacent. And I shouldn't have. I should have known better. Is this the start of a bigger conflict? Maybe. Inshallah, not so, but we don't know. The political opposition is not united or functioning as a government in waiting. It is not in the position to accept defections, much less provide security. Seventh, history suggests that regime change normally requires a physical, on-the-ground president. Boots. This is the lesson of Germany and Japan after World War II, as well as Panama, Iraq, and Afghanistan more recently. And even with ground presence, such efforts often come up short and cost a great deal, as both Iraq and Afghanistan underscore. An occupation of Iran is inconceivable given the country's size and ability to resist. This is something I have also been telling you over and over again. This is a country of 93 million people, or about 30 million people would defend the regime. boots. That's my ego boost. I need to create a soundboard. Just telling me salacious tales about much drug use. Yeah. Cool. Eighth, the Trump administration has chosen to accomplish the most ambitious of foreign policy goals with limited means. It rejected a war of choice dedicated to narrower goals, such as degrading. Well, how are they going to degrade no nuclear and ballistic missile capabilities when they already obliterated them last June? Silly? It's hard out here, peep. It's hard. Can you, Tiggs, are you in the Discord? Yeah, thank you. Perfect. Amazing. Something it appears to have achieved here. If there is a recent parallel to what is taking place in Iran, it is Libya, where just over a decade ago, Western forces ousted the leadership using air power, but then failed to follow up, leaving the country in chaos. We all know what happened in Libya. Okay. I can handle a big book. There's a Discord. Ninth, all this comes as a major surprise. This is an administration that has shown no interest in regime change or democracy promotion elsewhere, nor has it shown an appetite for costly foreign policy ventures, which Trump had promised in his campaign would no longer be a touchstone of US foreign policy. Why here and now is a mystery, as there is no clear evidence that the Iranian regime, however unpopular and weakened, is on the edge of collapse. True. If the book is heavy, Larry, I'll simply need some assistance to lift it. 10th, it is quite possible that assembling a massive military presence in the region, what President Trump called an armada, after verbal threats failed to persuade the Iranian government to stop killing political opponents, subsequently put pressure on the Trump administration to act, as the forces could not be maintained in a high state of readiness on location indefinitely. As a result, the means of policy played a large role in determining the ends of policy, namely the decision to attack. This is obviously the reverse of how policy should be determined. What if this book distracts me with its beauty? Many such cases. You'll never guess which party blocked funding to maintain Libya. Oh. I mean, I don't want to talk about. I have thoughts about. I have thoughts. I have things to say, but I won't. Hang on, just let me quickly monitor the situation. Listen, I'm very bad at working out how to dual stream. So yes, things happen on Twitch that don't happen on YouTube because I haven't set up the YouTube side of things yet. I don't know how to do it yet. I'm working on it, okay? Trump was never going to negotiate. No, he wasn't. Oh, shit. Gulf stock slide. Kuwait suspend US proposed ceasefire with Iran after strikes. Rejected. Iran rejected that offer. Interesting. That's according to Ynet, so who knows? Threatens painful blows. Okay. Israel reinforces military. Gulf stock slide. Blah. Israel establishes advanced ops rooms on Lebanon-Syria border. IRGC claims strike on oil tanker. Iran Spox calls Khamenei killing international crime. Calls for a religious war. Fair enough. Hackers target Iranian apps. Yeah, we know that. Fire burns UAE arm pool near Dubai. Pro-Iran protesters attack US consulate in Karachi. We know about that. Ukraine. Love you, Ukraine, but I'm not monitoring that situation today. I'll monitor it another day. Drone missiles, 5th Fleet HQ in Bahrain. Air defense interception underway in Tel Aviv. 7th wave. Crew killed in projectile strike on tanker off Oman. Pakistan launches... Pakistan, I told you not right now. Read the room. Okay. That's what I told you would say, Johnny, because the thing is, you have to understand, Trump would never frame this as a new war. This is an existing existential holy war between good and evil that has been going on for a long time. Iran and America have always been at war. He didn't start this war. It doesn't count as a new war. Okay? You silly billies? He'd have to bomb like Australia for it to count as a new war. IRGC claims strike on multiple US bases, killing and wounding. Well, they're claiming that. Let's not get carried away. Biden started this war. No, you know who started this war? Obama. JFK. One of those losers. Not him. You silly billies. Where is my... I know, it's crazy how many wars this man has ended. No, Trump can have New Zealand first. Supreme Chancellor of the Board of Peace. Did we ever consider that Trump might be... Actually, I am a little scared of blasphemy, even in religions I don't follow, and I don't want to make the joke that I was considering. But there is a joke there that could be made for those who feel safer to make such jokes. Eleventh, the United States has opted yet again to make a massive strategic commitment in the Middle East. This is at odds with the Trump administration's own national security strategy, which is all about China, by the way, and with the reality that the greatest challenge to US interests are to be found in Europe and the Indo-Pacific. Here the parallel is to the 2003 Iraq War, another preventative war of choice in the region that cost the United States enormously. I expect Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping are both happy. 12th, the American people are not prepared for this war, nor is Trump. Well, what you have to understand is Noam Chomsky was in the Epstein files, so we no longer manufacture consent. Okay? Chomsky was cancelled, all of his input was cancelled, so manufacturing consent is no longer required because Noam Chomsky is no longer required. Okay? That's just how these things work. Nor is Trump's political base. War, and especially a prolonged war, will unsettle markets, cause a spike in energy prices, and possibly lead to attacks on American installations and Americans around the world. President Trump did not use his State of the Union speech Tuesday night to make the case for attacking Iran, and much of his statement in the immediate aftermath of Saturday's attack emphasized past actions by Iran rather than new or emerging threats. Manufacturing the age of consent. Oh my God. We can't make deals anymore because of the Epstein file. There's a lot of things we can't do anymore. 13th. Can I just say something? And I don't know, Richard Haas may be a very famous man. He writes in the New York Times. I understand he's, he goes on Katie Couric. He looks old and respectable. If you're writing something and it has 13th in it, that's bad writing. We don't need to be writing lists that include 13th. You can just wind that all together without numbering it. 13th and last. It is possible that last year's cost-free bombing of 3 Iranian nuclear sites and the more recent intervention in Venezuela made Trump and those around him highly confident that they could achieve ambitious ends with limited means at a low cost. That is always possible, but history warns that regime change is easier called for than successfully carried out, and that while it only takes one side to begin a war, it takes 2 to end it. Iran now has a vote in how big this conflict becomes and how long it endures. Guys, can I just say... I have to say it again. I'm sorry. You just have to let me compliment myself a little bit. Everything all of these people are saying, I already told you. They're copying me. They're getting a Hotmail.
that the US and Israel face is that they simply can't take out enough ballistic missiles to prevent that scenario from happening. And we're not just talking missiles, we're also talking relatively low-tech Shahed suicide drones, which have been causing a lot of damage in the Gulf states right now. So this is Iran's one last remaining trump card.
Exactly,
It still has
Harvey.
the ability to do enough damage to cause chaos, not just to harm the region, but also if the Strait of Hormuz remains closed, to damage oil production and really hurt taxpayers in the West even. This is an area responsible for 20 to 30% of oil supplies. So Iran is banking that any long-term conflict is in no one's interest. So it's trying to escalate to end this as quickly as possible.
Yeah, suicide drones is such. I only recently learnt that this is a new thing, one-way drones. I prefer one-way drones to suicide drones because drones cannot commit suicide. They're not sending themselves there either, but the idea is they're one way, so they go with the intention of not returning.
It is very nearly 1700 hours GMT, 8 o'clock in Doha. This is Al Jazeera with continuing coverage.
We got
of the
shit
joint
popping
Israeli
off
and US
in...
attacks on Iran.
Hang on.
I'm Adrian Finnegan. President Donald Trump says he wants to talk to Iran's new leadership. In an interview to US media, he said that Tehran waited too long to make a deal and, quote, they should have given what was very practical and easy to do.
Kamikaze
Earlier,
drones.
Oman said that Iran is open to any serious efforts at de-escalation. Well, those comments come as the US Military Central Command says that 3 service members have been killed and 5 are seriously wounded. It added that several others sustained minor shrapnel injuries
Robophobic?
and concussions.
Cyborg-phobic.
Being returned to duty. Israel, meanwhile, has continued its strikes for a second day, saying it's targeting ballistic missile and aerial defense systems.
That's the problem.
Thick clouds of smoke engulf
Literally,
residential
Harvey,
areas.
it's like, why would anyone go into negotiations and believe that they are going to be good faith, or that anyone would, like, they have the one thing that matters for negotiation, and this is true, this is like a really important thing when it comes to Israel-Palestine as a conflict, which is you can't negotiate anything if there's no trust. Because, and that comes from like being true to your word and maintaining it. So this was already really like degraded when the JCPOA was first ripped up. Not to mention what happened last year at the negotiations. Not to mention what just happened. And now you want to go into talks? And it's what was said at the end of that article we just read. It's like, it takes one person to start a war, but it takes 2 to stop it. And so now Iran gets a say in when this ends, how big this gets. Like, you frickin' idiot.
In the Iranian capital, as many looked for shelter. Iran says the number of female students killed in an attack on Saturday has risen to 165. Well, Iran has retaliated by targeting the central city of Beit Shemesh in Israel, killing at least 9 people. At least 57 others have been injured, and emergency teams are at the scene. Israel's military says that it's investigating why its air defense system failed to intercept the missiles.
Everyone went into those negotiations knowing that that attack was going to happen, yeah. But still,
in the occupied West Bank. Let's first go to Washington.
This man looks serious.
Alan Fisher. Alan, what more do we know about these comments in the Atlantic magazine attributed to President Trump saying that he wants to talk to Iran?
Well, he says that he'll be interested to find out who's on the other end of the phone because of the damage they've done to the Iranian leadership. It's certainly a move.
I'm going to say it, guys. If you have your phone loudly playing me right now, just know I'm about to use a big swear. Okay? What a cunt. Imagine being like, I want to sit down and negotiate with Iran, but who knows who will even be on the other side of the phone because we killed them all, but let's negotiate. It's like, are you serious, bro? Can you just, if you actually want to go to the negotiating table and talk, can you not act like that and talk like that?
To try and start steps to bring this war to an end. Just 24 hours ago, Donald Trump was saying that the war would end when they decided that they'd achieved their objectives. which of course was outlined as regime change, but what they have is maybe a change at the top at the moment. So has it reached US goals? Is this a point where...
Oh, okay. So Timer Gibbs has told us that the guy that we just read that thing from, Richard Haas, was the director of policy planning at the State Department in George W. Bush's administration and then special envoy for Northern Ireland. I really should have remembered the US envoy to Northern Ireland. Ahem. Are you an Irishman at all? As an angry Republican once shouted at my father. Well, the thing is, he copied my homework. He may be a neocon, but I had that analysis first, bro. Bye, Cleo. I'm gonna go to bed soon because the situation is feeling pretty. I'm saying it feels fine tonight. The second I stop, it will get unfine, but that's okay because we'll cover it tomorrow because we're doing March Madness.
They're ready to carry out discussions. He says he's willing to talk in the next couple of days. But of course, people will point to the discussions that were going on with Oman, the Omani chief negotiator saying
yes, hybrid. I don't even want to talk about it.
That it was ready to be signed, and then the United States launched the attack. But Donald Trump has said in the past that he's about to talk, he's ready to talk, he's willing to talk, and nothing really has developed from that. So it'll be interesting to see what does actually develop.
Talk is cheap. Stop bombing us.
Over the next 48, 72 hours.
Alan, Iran's foreign minister told Al Jazeera that Tehran won't bow down and has the right to defend itself. Masarachi said that the actions of Israel and the US will not lead to regime change in Iran.
I have talked with our military leaders and military commanders to be careful about the targets they choose. But again, this is not something against Oman, this is not something against Qatar, this is not something against any other neighbor country. This is against American targets, and we are not in charge of this.
Okay, this is kind of double speak from Iran, and it has to be acknowledged. They were saying this as well at the United Nations today. They were saying we are only targeting American bases in these countries. You're not. That's a little lie, Iran. You turn a little fibber-dib there. You're not. And it's an intentional thing. It's a strategic thing. And of course you have to lie because that saves the relationship. But you aren't being careful. You are intentionally targeting things that are not American bases. It's a little fib. And we just have to acknowledge that, okay? We just have to point that out. They're fibber-dibbers.
Problem. It is not our fault. We are under attack. They have to explain why they decided to attack us. Why
that actually would be good. We'd all love to know.
In this act of aggression. And then if the attacks are stopped and there is enough explanation, we will consider how to react.
Live to Tehran, Al Jazeera's Mohammed Val is there. Picking up on what Alan was saying just a few moments ago, Mohammed, what is Iran saying about de-escalation?
Oh, that's crazy,
yes,
Teflon.
Adrian, I have to mention that just when my colleague Alan Fisher was talking, two loud explosions have been heard here in Tehran. We can't locate until.
Okay, Step, even if, let's say you bomb a hotel because the hotel is holding military personnel, okay? The difference is that the US bases in these countries, that would be like a US embassy, that would be American soil, right? That would be understood as American soil. That would be understood as not, and there is a calculation that's kind of entered into with these GCC countries when they have an American base being like, that might get hit. Once you start hitting hotels, even if there are people in there, the GCC countries are not going to be able to view that. Even if that's the case, if you were hitting them because there's an American target in there, it doesn't matter. That is still hitting Gulf soil, not American soil. Yeah, I bet bases are hard to hit. It doesn't, but you can't be like, we bombed you guys because we wanted to bomb the base, but it was a little too protected, you know? It was, yeah, but that's, Johnny, okay, I understand why they're bombing. I know so that the Gulf will put pressure on the United States and say, hey, the cost of this is too high. We don't want to be in a regional war. Stop this immediately. It's a change of calculation. They're doing it on purpose, right? But the reason that they're lying and saying they're not, and they're just hitting the bases, is because the bases would be something that the Gulf would probably be okay with. Someone did that once in school. A boy didn't like me. I didn't like him. And so that upset him. So he didn't like me because I didn't like him. But instead of attacking me, he went up to my little brother and he was like, are you Joanna's little brother? And then he hit him.
Now the specific places or the targets, but two loud explosions. So that means a resumption of airstrikes on Tehran right now as we speak. Yes, we have been seeing statements from Oman, from the Omani foreign minister, who tweeted that he had been in contact with his Iranian counterpart, and that Araghchi told him that Iran is not against any serious effort for de-escalation in this war. So that's the first time ever since the beginning of this campaign, which is just 2 days now,
Paradiddle,
that the
it's
Iranians
rough out here being a
talking
sibling.
about de-escalation, because all the messages we've heard since yesterday were about escalation, were about Iran going tough in this war and not bowing to pressure and so on. And that's something that they have continued to.
Unfortunately, a lot of people, Jordan, are just going to want to cover like the assassinations, the death, like who dies, but like people don't really want to understand the most people aren't interested in the strategic security aspect, which is like, why are different people hitting different things? Like, why are people making these decisions? And that's why I say they'll start by attacking the tourism industry, so airports, hotels, things that the Gulf is famous for, that they like to build their identity around, and then they'll move up to attacking oil infrastructure. And ultimately, it's the Gulf countries are important not just because they can pressure the United States, but because they have personal financial deals with Donald Trump. They are personally enriching Donald Trump with private deals, not deals with Donald Trump, President of the United States, deals with Donald Trump, the crypto guy, Donald Trump, the property investor. They are personally enriching him, so they have a lot of sway over Donald Trump. Johnny.
To say today, all the leaders who have survived the assassination wave yesterday, but now
Tiggs, what the actual fuck?
The Omani foreign minister is saying that the Iranians are giving signs that if there is a serious effort again for de-escalation, they are ready for it, even though Araghchi has been complaining over the last couple of days, and in his interview today with Al Jazeera, that there are...
Iguana? Thank you. That's very kind of you. My mum says I have to make a bigger deal when people give me subs. Thank you. Go Iguana. And you know what? They didn't show me the fucking body. Did you notice that? Thank you so much, Iguana. I do really appreciate it. Could it backfire into more Gulf countries wanting a regional war because no. It couldn't, because there is absolutely no interest in... The Gulf countries were getting along with Iran. They've never had trouble from Iran, really. I mean, obviously, Iraq is a Gulf country, so Iraq has had trouble with Iran. But generally, the new Gulf countries, the Gulf countries we consider to be Gulf countries, in that I would call them like the old new countries, old kingdoms, but kind of new in terms of like UAE, Oman, Saudi, Bahrain, Kuwait. These countries are, they like to make money with oil, have money, have people come and do tourism, and they like to have that flashy lifestyle. War doesn't do anything for them, and they have no interest in dealing with a failed state of Iran, and there is no current friendly regime that could be put in place. So any military action they take would simply be to protect their own assets. If Iran had bought moral coin, none of this would be happening. And if everyone bought moral coin, none of this would be happening. Truly. Looking at you, Saudi.
There were at least two major occasions when war on Iran was launched in the middle of negotiations at a time when the two sides or the three sides or all the sides were around the negotiation table, and when there were statements about good progress being made. So the Iranians, I mean, the undertone of this is that the Iranians do not trust Americans, they do not trust President Trump, but despite the fact that they do not trust him, they are still ready for negotiation.
I'll be back with you in a moment, Mohammed. Let's go back.
The reason they're ready for negotiation is because ultimately they have the upper hand, right? The war ending works for them. The war not ending, oh well. They get to kind of decide. They get to make the decision.
Back to Washington and our chief U.S. correspondent, Alan Fisher. What more, if anything, Alan, is the U.S. saying about these three servicemen who've been killed?
Well, we're not going to get much more information than we've already received, at least not for 24 hours. A couple of reasons for that. One, if you give an indication where the people were killed and injured, and remember there were 5 injured in this with shrapnel wounds, then you give an indication to the Iranians what might be vulnerable and where they might be able to target for a second time.
So this is what I was saying yesterday in terms of like, if Americans die, if Israelis die, if Israeli things are hit, if American things are hit, we will receive very little information about it. It is not strategically sensible to broadcast that information, and they'll do their absolute best to keep it under wraps as much as possible. So obviously they have to say that these service members will die because they have to alert the family. That information would get out, but any information about how that occurred will stay.
We know that it was shrapnel wounds that we've.
Build a website you love with Wix.
What the fuck? I'm in the wrong account, guys.
Create your brand.
Strike or a drone strike, and therefore you would think it must be somewhere in the immediate area, obviously.
Shigs is going real
We don't
OSINT.
know what part of the service they were serving in. We don't know their names. That, of course, would reveal where they were based from their families. The families still have to be informed. Donald Trump warned when he announced that they had launched this attack on Iran that there could be casualties.
People will die.
The chance that this could happen. And he said that's just a consequence of war. The problem he's got is that he was the president who said he wasn't going to get involved in foreign wars. He wasn't going to
Yeah, they said it was shrapnel,
sacrifice
Masson.
American lives and American money fighting to change regimes, and now he's doing exactly that. So this doesn't exactly bode well for him with the American people.
He doesn't care about the American people, guys.
Right,
he doesn't
many
care.
thanks. Let's get back to Tehran. Mohammed, while Alan was talking there was another very loud bang there in Tehran. What's happening?
Let's check. Let's monitor the situation.
Until now, Adrian, we're not we don't know the full
Netanyahu's having a meeting. Quick,
happened, but
quick,
you can
guys.
see smoke behind me. I don't know if that smoke is related to the 2 loud explosions that I heard, people here heard, but there is smoke rising behind me there. And as I said, I don't know if it is related to those 2 explosions. Our colleagues on the other side of this building are trying to figure out what happened.
In the meantime, Mohammed, Iran said earlier in the day that it had fired missiles at the aircraft carrier, the USS Abraham Lincoln. The US said it didn't.
US is proposing ceasefire through Italy, apparently. Hilarious. To me, as a negotiator, if you think of Italians in a very stereotypical way. Mamma mia! Guys, I'm at the silly part of the night. It's very it's very interesting how these sort of things are viewed as or projected as an achievement, right? This idea that like Israel's eliminated the entire pre-October 7 Iran axis of resistance leadership. I was saying this earlier it is impressive, right? In terms of you got rid of Sinwar, you got rid of Haniya, you got rid of Nasrallah, you got rid of Khamenei. That's pretty impressive. You probably got whoever the guy was in Iraq, you got rid of Assad, he's done. Like, that's pretty impressive. Like, you don't gotta hand it to him, but you gotta hand it to him. Like, in terms of like assassinations, you did catch them all. Like, but why are you saying it like this? Like, we did it. He's telling us he's in Jerusalem. Do we believe him?
What more do we know?
Let's see what's happening
To
right
export
now.
It's liquefied natural gas. 83%.
Okay. Comrade Group, thank you so much. How do you feel about the non-credible diplomacy subreddit? What is that? I've never seen it. Guys, look at the achievements we've made today. This is huge. You're making a piece. 83%. Yeah, that's this is why I said, like, so this is coming from Qatar as well, I think. So this strait, it does matter. And with the airports going down too, it does matter. They're putting pressure.
Of the LNG that passes through the strait heads to Asia, including China. Even Australia could be affected. Around 30% of its refined oil effectively passes through the Strait of Hormuz. Closing it could potentially remove more than 17 billion barrels of oil from the global market, driving up prices and straining energy supplies. Our correspondent Katrina Yu is in Beijing. She has more now on China's concerns about how
China's
it
not
will be
concerned,
affected.
guys. We don't even, I'm telling you now. She's going to say China has stockpiles. China can get, as I keep telling you, oil is fungible. China can get oil from Brazil. China can get oil from Kazakhstan. China can get oil from Russia. There are many places that China can get oil from. China has been stockpiling oil for a very long time. It won't want to touch that oil, though. That's the last resort oil. It doesn't want to touch that, okay?
It's concerned about the disruption to the global energy market and indeed its own energy needs. Now, China doesn't release very exact figures as to how much oil it imports from Iran. We know that oil in general makes up about a fifth of China's entire energy needs in this country. 70% of all China's oil is imported. Now, 40 to 50% of that comes from Gulf states such as Kuwait and Iraq.
That's a
and
lot.
pretty much all of that Gulf oil flowing to China flows through the Strait of Hormuz. So this, any possible closure, any possible disruption will be shocking for China, but indeed not completely surprising. It has been watching these tensions escalate over the past few weeks, no doubt making some contingency plans.
Guys, is she disagreeing with me? Am I wrong?
Beijing has options. It could possibly import more oil from non-Middle Eastern countries such as Russia, Kazakhstan, even Brazil to make up any possible shortfall. It may also be forced to release some of its own strategic reserves. In the short term, though, I think we can expect to see China continue to call for a halt to any attacks, for de-escalation, for a return to the negotiating table by all parties involved. I think we are also likely to see China call for any of that conflict to stay clear of the strait, to continue to allow any shipments of.
This is great. I swear to God. I didn't pre-watch. I just know some shit. I swear to God. Roka, so this is what I'm saying. That's my number one fear. That the next escalation I see for Iran is bombing oil infrastructure and refineries. And once that happens, I believe that the Gulf states would militarily intervene. That is my genuine, like, escalatory fear, because if they do start doing that, that has a massive global impact that isn't quickly fixed. And people are already fucked enough. Like, people are already fucked enough without oil prices getting that far out of control.
Well, to flow through there, because of course this is going
some limited passage of the vessels, but still some passage was going through. Of course, here
No, I just learned about a lot about oil when I was making my Venezuela video. That's all, guys. No, they don't have to make the threat first, because they didn't make the threat first when they started hitting hotels in the Gulf. They acted very definitively and very quickly, and they've already hit a UAE oil thingy that's in the ocean. Escalatory. I mean, if Iran is being faced with complete destruction, is there any incentive for them? Well, this is the thing. That's why I keep saying, like, this is existential. So unless the oil rig, thank you, Mr. Snooth, unless the regime has some sort of, like, guarantee that this isn't just going to happen again in 10 months, right? This is an existential conflict for them. They're going to give it everything. Guys, we got 4 more minutes and then I got to go to bed, because that'll be 4 hours. And we've monitored the situation very well. But not too much is happening. It's not worth me staying up tonight. It's better for me to get some sleep and then rejoin you again tomorrow, okay? So what is the reason for this war? Lance, wouldn't we all like to know? I've got some theories, but none of them are convincing to me. And if the theory isn't convincing to me, it's not going to convince you. I mean, I think it's like 100 little different reasons. I'm not even sure that the administration fully knows why they did it. I think he just wanted, so often, I think it truly is, he just wants to outdo Obama. I'm not convinced by the alignment of the moon sets. I mean, Epstein, sure, it's a part of it. Netanyahu's a part of it. China's a part of it, because I think he wants to get out of the Middle East. As I said yesterday, Johnny, I don't think Bibi is blackmailing him, but he may be blowing smoke up his ass. I think that works better with Trump. I think he felt after Venezuela, he was like, damn, I'm really good at this taking out leader thing. I'm going to get rid of the Ayatollah. And I always think it's to do with him wanting to be... I did better than Obama. JCPO, eh? I got rid of the Islamic Republic. And yeah, as I said before this started, Bibi, to achieve what he wants to achieve in the region, really can only do that under Trump. So it would be putting in a huge amount of pressure on Trump. And if he's going to Trump saying, like, you're the only president brave enough to do this. Imagine if you were the president to stop the #1 state sponsor of terrorism in the world. You're the only one who can do it. You know? That's the sort of shit he'd be like, yeah, I am the only one who can do it. Chances of it going into indefinite conflict status? I don't think so. I don't think the Gulf will allow it. America doesn't have the appetite for it. Israel can't do it by itself. So I don't see it being an indefinite conflict. I agree with that, Forgy. Trump looks at himself in the mirror every day and he's like, hey, you're better than Obama. Don't listen to them. You're better than him. You're the best president there ever was. And you're tough and you're big and you're strong. He thinks that like when he decapitates a leader that he like I remember when Maduro was taking, sorry guys, but I saw the funniest thing is like what they don't tell you is that you can take home the Latin American leader. Thank you, Bad Horse. Woo! You're the horse. We got
I hope you keep streaming at these times. I appreciate your non-dry analysis, and I can never find a consistent politics streamer on YouTube that I enjoy who is on in the morning for the content.
Yes, this is the time I want to stream. So I will try to keep streaming at this time. I'll do my best. I'll do my bestest. But yeah, I truly think the be better than Obama thing is like a very strong motivating thing. Okay, let's just check anything. Okay, so thank you guys so much for your support tonight and for hanging out with me and monitoring the situation with me. We've monitored it well, and I think we've done a really good job. I will try to be back tomorrow. And I'll try and write that piece for my Substack, so we'll see how we go. But have a good night. Stay safe. Don't start any wars. You are already better than Obama in my eyes, all of you. So you don't need to start a war, okay? Oh, I went to this thing and it's now doing its thing. It's just a reminder of how amazing everything is for us. Okay. I'll go back to the other scene.
Look at you.
Sorry, it's redoing everything now. I got to go back to the other thing. Be good. Do good things. Spread smiles and love, and I don't know. We'll learn how to raid at some point.